one final time, our All-Stars will be taking to the grid here on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars event, round number 10 at Monza. Paul Smith and Sadicus here on commentary as always. And Matt, we find you in yet another hotel room somewhere in the world. I mean, it's such a hard life, isn't it?
I'm basically homeless though, Paul. That's the problem. So yeah, no, I'm in Dallas, Texas actually. There's some Counter-Strike going on right now, but I'm not going to be part of that today. I'm here. I've got my priorities set because those are just semifinals. Today, this is the final for PESC, and it's kind of cool that we're here again. It's, last year we were fortunate enough to do the show at Hockenheim in the Porsche Experience Center. This year, we're keeping it online, but we're doing some special stuff, and I think that this season's been an incredible one as well. So I think today is going to be pretty intense.
Well, let's take a look at where we are actually racing then. As always, for a season finale here on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup, Monza. I mean, what more historic venue could it be for a European venue at least?
Yeah, absolutely, cathedral of speed, and this is the kind of cathedral I'd like to go pray to. And what a beautiful circuit. Obviously, it comes with its complications. The first chicane, obviously, the breaking point is going to be a point of contention. We know, especially in the Supercup, where they don't have the ABS, that 992 Cup car. It's a little bit more difficult for those cars as opposed to the GT3 and even the Cayman. And then you've just got a wide open straightaway, so much drafting. And honestly, the weird thing is for me, and most people don't attribute this, the Lesmo 2 is my favorite corner on the track. I love that you can just send it into that corner and it really determines your run on the straightaway.
Now, speaking of the championship here for the All-Stars, we had it decided last time out that Quirk Tyson Meyer did win the championship, but look at that race for second place. You got it equal between Emily Jones and Borja Zazo. You got Casey Kerwin's not that far behind either. Heike 360 and Dan Suzuki. And don't forget, top 5 in this series. Top 5 get a Tag Heuer connected watch.
That's actually ridiculously cool. How many races did Casey Kerwin miss before he joined the season? I think he missed 4, did he not? Like, for him to be there, almost equal with Zazo and Emily Jones, that's pretty nuts. That's pretty insane how impressive he's been since joining the series. And not just to mention as well, Emily Jones, she was in Germany last week. I think she only got home about 6 hours ago based on what she told me her travel plans were. Because obviously I got to run into her and meet her in person, and that was really cool. But she was saying, I might be a little tired this race. So we'll see how that plays out for her.
It'd be awesome to see Case Kerwin actually race in the Super Cup itself. I think he would do a very good job in that. But let's just have a quick look at our format for today for the All-Stars. The drivers voted on it, and it is the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup, the 992. We've got a fixed setup, so all the drivers are using the same car out there. It's all down to the driver ability. We've got 12 minutes of open qualifying. The sprint race is 17 minutes, and then the main race is 27 minutes. And the drivers out on track. Now, are we going to see the usual shenanigans that happen at Monza in open qualifying, and everybody waiting patiently
I know what you mean.
the Parabolica?
Yeah. Get your dancing partner, 2x2, form a row, and let's do the tango. Yeah, I think you might. I think drafting is so important that you're going to see a bit of that. Now, the problem is, if you're not coordinated in that drafting, you can easily get affected by it as well because you're still then held up in the corners. You need to time it. And it's almost in a team situation, you would have one guy doing a hot lap, the other guy doing his out lap. He'll pull you on the out lap. Hot lap's over. He then pulls you on your hot lap on his in lap. And that's kind of how you would overlap that situation. I don't know if these guys are going to quite be doing that, but it's just going to be a battle of wit and position and who gets the right toe at the right time. But you definitely see it.
And there is our, well, not finalised, but he's mathematically clear in terms of championship points. Tyson Meyer, Quirk. It's his first season of the All-Stars event, and he has been an absolute sensation, I will say, in this series. Quirk has done a fantastic job.
Oh, he's been excellent, and it's been a ton of fun to have him with us this year. I think he's a great personality. I know I watch his stream a lot more lately, and as I do with all these guys in the All-Star race now, I make a point of it because they're great drivers in their own right. Entertaining, and Quirk's been incredible. The other one I got a chance to chat with and hang out with a bit was Gamer Muscle last week, and he's been a ton of fun. That's a lot of smoke in front of Rye as Emery looks like she's going around. That's going to force Matthew Vacker offline. Now, he was also around last week when I got a chance to speak with him, but he was pretty busy the whole time, so didn't chat with him as much, but I do like his attire. That hat is looking pretty good on his head right now. Never not racing. This guy is another guy that's put in a lot of hours on iRacing, Paul.
Yeah, put in a lot of hours, and maybe not had all the luck in the world in this season, but certainly been a great addition to the grid as always, as all these All-Stars drivers are, let's face it. But here we are, down the start and finish straight on board from the rear wing here, and it's crucial to get your braking right into that first chicane. And well, speaking of drivers, we've also got a driver that we haven't seen since the very first round at Hockenheim. Lauren Heinrich is taking part. We saw how quick he was there.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Lauren Heinrich just came off the back of a podium in the Porsche Cup race at Monza as a support race to the Monaco Grand Prix. So at Monza, excuse me, at Monaco Grand Prix. I was wondering why that sounded weird the way I said it. Monza's already in my head, but yeah, in the real car, in real life, obviously, is now that he's a Porsche Junior driver, and congratulations to him on that. That's a pretty special honor, just to get the chance to drive around the Monaco circuit, and then obviously he gets to stand up on the podium. So yeah, joining us again here, awesome to see him. He's a great sim driver in his own right, probably fast enough that he could be in Supercup. I think most people would agree with that, and he's definitely done some endurance races with some top teams as well in iRacing, so no stranger to this car. We'll see how he gets on. He obviously was dominant in the first round. What do you think about it? I think he got a back-to-back win both races, even with the reverse grid.
And it's also worth mentioning that Lauren will actually be joining us for qualifying for the Super Cup as well in the commentary booth, so we'll get to hear his thoughts on the Super Cup and on his racing as well. So that'll be good to hear from him. What the drivers love this track though. It's a tremendous track because even if you're not completely on the pace in terms of one lap pace in the races, you can use that draft to keep you in a pack, and it always gives you tremendous opportunities of pulling out a result that maybe you wouldn't normally do, say somewhere else like the Nürburgring, for instance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely that is the name of the game at Monza, really. I mean, sure, you want to be daring, you want to carry speed, you want to get as much entry speed as possible into the Parabolica. Maxime carries a little bit too much throttle, sideways a bit on exit, but getting good runs onto the straightaway is pretty key and clutch. There's your new house, by the way, new setup for her. I like that setup behind her. Got the Pirelli hats, more helmets. She's been just adding to that helmet tally all year. We talked to her. She's got the new Max Verstappen one, but a whole new house. Everyone's moving, Paul.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous because they all have houses and I'm stuck in hotels.
It's all right. I've been looking for a house and not been successful, so everyone's moving but me. But anyway, Maxime, she's been a great driver as always. Here we are, Banana Braids Racing as well. I've been having to practice not tripping over that name for myself here, but new rebrand. We spoke to Altia last time out about that, and she was saying that she just wanted to get a new brand, a new face,
a new start. I think because I know her spotter quite well. Yuri actually just does some endurance races with me in iRacing. Poor guy, and he races actually in my local league as well. And he was saying that she's kind of parted ways with her former sim sort of stable, the team she was with, and just wants to start fresh, like you say. And I think that's fine. I think that's a good decision if she's confident and keen about it. Here's Matty Malone inside of his house. Looks like he's rocking that Porsche rim as well, so he's looking pretty confident inside this car. And we'll see how he gets on as one of the American drivers in this series, who certainly is, I would almost say, one of the more well-known ones. I mean, they're all pretty well-known at this point, right? But one of the more storied, more of a lengthy career in streaming and being in part of iRacing. What am I trying to say, Paul? Help me out.
Well, I mean, you're on there with what you say. I have no clue what you say.
Okay, well, I don't either, so that's fine.
But here's Hydro then. Got the fridge back that's set up in the room there to make sure he's got cool, refreshing drinks at hand all the way through.
Hydro with the cool hydro. Getting hydrated. No, not gonna throw me a bone on that one either, Paul. All right, cool. Thanks, appreciate it.
I know you're the king of the dad jokes when it comes to commentary, but
I do enjoy a good dad joke. It's practice for one day when I might be a dad, God forbid. But my dog doesn't seem to mind when I tell them to her, so that's where I practice.
But Hydra, it's great to see him here for this finale, and he's just chatting away. This is the one thing that I find with these streamers that I struggle with when I do my racing. I stream my race occasionally. It's that ability to be able to talk away to the audience and still keep a good pace as well. That's just the one thing that I can't do. And here's somebody, Jardier, who is one of the best at that.
And it's such a mental thing. I mean, speaking obviously is a physical aspect of your lips moving, but it's all mental, what's going on, and you're processing so much in sim in a real car with certainly the sensations and things going on. I actually don't find it that difficult to speak. And in iRacing, though, I have to talk only on straightaways, and I have to, look away from the screen only in certain spots. Yeah, you're just so focused visually on the game and mentally on the game that it's difficult. So these guys do such a great job of doing that. You're absolutely right. Time's coming in, by the way. Casey Kerwin currently sits atop the board. I don't see what his last lap time was, but he's done faster than a 49.9, because that's what Tyson Meyer, Quirk, has done in second. Lauren Heinrich's yet to put in a time. Now, that's the battle I want to see today. The race between Casey Kerwin and obviously Quirk in there is mathematically the leader in this. There's Gamer Muscle, but I want to see how he does against Lauren Heinrich, because that is a real gauge of skill between those two.
Yeah, that'll be a really good race between those two. And Lauren Heinrich, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. He has got himself to the top of the standings by, get this, half a second.
Wow, so that's significant. Do you have a draft on that?
I don't see one on my track map, no.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's with him, because if I'm looking at the times come across the line, he was the only one that crossed the line in that sort of space in time, so I don't think he had a draft on that either. That's crazy. So Lauren throwing down a gauntlet, 49.2. Keep that lap time in the back of your mind, Paul, because we're going to see them in the same cars today as the PESC drivers. And I just said Lauren's capable of potentially being in that series, so that might be a good gauge of speed.
Well, here's Mavix, Marco Bischoff. Great to have him here for the second half of the season, and he's certainly brought himself into the series, and he had a good start opening round to his run, as we look at Dan Suzuki, another driver who's moved house recently. He really has recently moved house. Live broadcasting. It's live broadcast, mate.
We're doing it live. No, look, Dan's back in, I think back on the bigger screens now as well, because he packed those up earlier because they were harder to move. I think he's like 54-inch or something, but yes, obviously into a new home for him. He's sort of 3 weeks settled in, no excuses anymore. The ghosts in the closets, he's got to be familiar with all those. He doesn't have anything to distract him. And here's Stratty, who's looking in on his room. We haven't seen too much of him this year. He joined a little bit later in the series, but gotta love his setup as well behind with the different wheels and the 24-hour rig. There's Emily Jones, looking pretty cozy and comfy.
Casey Kerwin to the top of your standings as well, quickly, because Lauren Heinrich then jumps ahead once again. Big back end not behaving there for Emily. That's going to ruin her final lap, and the thing is, as she's crossed the line now, she will not complete another lap in qualifying, because in this qualifying here, once the time strikes 0, that is it. You do not get any further chance.
So just to give a note, though, I mean, that time at the top now, 49.0, but Casey Kerwin did answer, so 1/10 between them. This is going to be fun. That's 1/10 is nothing when you start to incorporate the draft into this equation. So that certainly could be an excellent race between them. And Quirk not far behind. Emery as well with that slide, and she's still only 7/10 back. I mean, that was probably worth 2/10, 3/10 on that last little run to the line alone. So Heike 360 across the line, just a second back. And this is going to be close. I mean, aside for the front two right now, the times are actually very, very close, from sort of third down to Dan Suzuki even in 11th.
Yeah, it certainly is a competitive field around here, and I do think that these drivers are they're getting the feel of that fixed setup that they've all got there, and I do feel that it is going to be a slower setup than the World Championship PESC drivers that we're going to be seeing later on, as Casey Kerwin's decided to abandon his lap. Last couple of drivers coming across the line, but yeah, this is going to be a really fun race here. The draft is going to be key, and really, oh dear, that's Quirk upside down in the gravel trap at Parabolica.
Yeah, that can happen, definitely. Get out there sideways, you're carrying a ton of speed. Like I said, it's an interesting circuit with all the different chicanes and the tightness and the use every gear here, no question. But for me, Lesmo, too, is just such a great corner. You dip it in, bit of a compression. You can slam it up over the curbs and then run it out nice and wide. And, well, looks like Lauren Heinrich and Casey Kerwin got the best of that.
They certainly do. Row 2 then is Tyson Meyer and Emily Jones with Borja Zaza and Jadier on row number 3. Row number 4 then for Heike 360 with Mavic CV alongside him. Matt Malone and Stradi then on row number 5. Row 6 is Dan Suzuki with Rai. Row 7 for Maxime and Banana Braids Racing with Hydro and Gamer Muscle on the back row of the grid here. But it's the final sprint race for the All-Stars here. Are we going to be seeing a lot of tactics happening here, Matt, in these races?
I mean, there'll be a lot of gamesmanship psychologically on when you want to pass, if you want to pass, kind of sitting in that draft if you have a chance. But also, you don't want to give away the lead too much if the guy's in front are running. So I don't know if there'll be strategy per se, but there'll have to be some racecraft sort of decisions made on the fly.
Well, last couple of drivers heading to the grid here. It's the final sprint race of the 2022 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. And these have been some of the most entertaining races that we've had in these broadcasts. But the drivers are looking to the start gantry now. They're looking for a green flag dropped by Barney. Revs rise, away we go for the sprint race here in the All-Stars. Good start from the front row from Lauren Heinrich and from Casey Kerwin, but Kerwin not quite getting as good a launch as there's a big crash in the background. Gamer Muscles turned around there. There was Banana Braids Racing involved. Quirk goes straight on, and the chicane, Emily Jones gets turned around. That was Borja Zazo involved in there as well. It's absolute carnage at the start here.
Yeah, Zazo taps Emily Jones at the second apex. It's just a funnel. We knew it was going to be tough into that first corner, but more importantly, a good evasive maneuver by Quirk. Yes, he would have gotten a slowdown. Yes, he had to go through the runoff area, but he got tagged under braking. It was either lose the car and take out more people in front, or be smart about it and use the extension road as he did. Now that, again, puts him way down to the back of the pack, but he'll try and recover from that position. As you can see, just ahead of James West. Gamer Muscle, and there's Dan Suzuki mid-pack as well. So this changes what's going on at the front because Lauren Heinrich and Casey Kerwin might get a chance to run away early.
I think Lauren Heinrich's trying to actually make a breakaway at the front already. He's 1 second clear as they're heading down towards the Ascari chicane for the first time. One of the most iconic runs into a chicane here. Fast left-hander launch over the curb. Hug that inside curb on the right, and then again using the curb on the left-hander onto the back straightaway, heading towards the Parabolica for the first time. And yeah, Lauren Heinrich, Casey Kerwin are pulling away at the front. Meanwhile, in the mid-pack, Heike 360 is in 4th, 5th place. Matt Malone right behind, and Dan Suzuki has been moving forward with all the shenanigans. Heike 360 runs wide. That's giving Malone a chance, but Heike should get the run down the straight.
Should, but we'll see if he does, because there's also going to be that draft in behind for Dan Suzuki right now, and it's going to be a tough breaking point. You can hold the outside of one into the second part of the chicane if you can get deep enough on the brakes. I know you can think of a famous incident where two cars landed on top of each other there, but I think there was racing room even in that. So, I'm one of the guys, especially in GTs. This is the start, though. Maxime way back down the order, got a bit of wheel spin, but this is where they all get stuck together. 4 wide almost, and yeah, just right out of road, kind of tripped over each other, and that's a big one for both Maxime and for Gamer Muscle, who got slammed against the inside wall.
And then here's what happened with Borja Zaza, just that little slightest of touches there, and Emily gets turned around, fortunately avoids the wall. I tell you what, Gamer Muscle's car must be tougher than an armadillo right now, because he did end up into the wall, but he has been on pit road.
Gamer Muscle's car is quite muscular, you could say.
Possibly, yeah. As they come out of Lesmo 2, your favourite corner on this track there. I can understand why, though.
It's kind of the only, every corner here requires such precision. Ascari, to an extent, as well, is similar, but you can really just commit on the entry and chuck the car in. And because of the compression, it lets you squat down and you get a great run. Ascari is similar. That's the scary part of Ascari, though, especially in iRacing with the proper curves as it's laser scanned. Those big sleeping policemen on the inside of the sweeping middle portion of it can really unsettle you. And then, of course, you can lose the rear when you hit the straight. So you can see it there. Casey Kerwin was kind of jumping up over them and unloading the car and the weight of the car, but holds on to it. He's going to try and track down. He's gotten a 10th back out of Lauren Heinrich, and this puts him back into draft territory, so that'll close quicker and quicker as he gets there.
I'll tell you what, this must explain why I always do terribly around Monza, because I'm on a curb-free diet. Is what
nice.
Is what you see, you're not the other one with the dad jokes. Come on.
That was good. I liked it, actually.
Lauren Heinrich, fastest lap at the front of your field, so even without a slipstream, without a draft, able to get the fastest lap of the race so far. But this race for 6, I mean, these three, they're pretty close together, and they've got work just loitering behind, thinking, when's my opportunity?
Absolutely that, yeah. No, he's working his way back through the field. Again, he took the escape runoff just behind and out of shot when we saw the Emily Jones replay incident. So he didn't take any damage, maybe a slight bit of surface, superficial door-to-door rubbing, but other than that, he should have good pace in that car still. So yeah, he's just working his way back through, trying to be smart about it. Lots of races in between, but Jardier got to slow down. Okay, I thought it was actually going to be Dan the way he was pulling off to the right. Oh, excuse me, that is Jardier. They both have the green and purplish look. It confused me. So absolutely, it was Jardier with the slowdown.
It was, and that leaves us in one place there to Matt Malone, and it brings him back to high 360 as well in this race. There's a plunge downhill underneath the banking. This is one venue I have always said, this is on my bucket list of venues for
I think so, yeah.
race. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Grand Prix. I just want to see some racing around here and visit this venue.
There's not many places you're going to see cars, going from plus 270, 300 kilometers an hour down to first gear for a corner and really see the energy in a race car, the heat in the brakes, dissipation, that lovely downshift noise that every car is going to go through here. It is definitely a place that I would love to sit and watch any form of proper race car go around all day long. It would be beautiful. You're absolutely right. Definitely one of the races I think people should attend. And even if it is a Grand Prix, you've got the Tifosi, you've got the incredible fanfare. It would be one of the better ones in terms of passion, but you just better hope that a certain Italian brand does well, otherwise it could be sour grapes in the crowd.
As goes Hike 360 down, looking to the inside, and the Rettifilio not quite working, and that can backfire on you. There's Dan Suzuki, so Heike got slowed up there by Jardier, and Dan Suzuki now trying to use a bit of side draft, and Jardier is trying to give him a bit of front draft. There's Matt Malone with a slow down penalty as well.
Yeah, I thought what you thought. I thought he was actually going to try and give a pull to Dan Suzuki to hold off Heike 360, but actually he was trying to get around Matty Malone, and that cost him because suddenly a slingshot who stayed flat in that was Heike. Saw it coming, maybe looking a bit further ahead on the situation, and now he's back up side by side, door to door with Heike in this race for 5th. And if this goes wrong, let's go to commitment corner. Does he tuck in? I think you have to tuck in before the apex. Absolutely does. Oh, side by side further back though. Matt Malone, that could have been drawn with Mavix.
Yeah, I think Mavix did actually snatch a break going into Lesmo 2 there. There was a bit of tyre smoke. And Quirk, Tyson Maya is right there with them now. Heike and Jardier, they're racing for 4th place. Heike's a little bit wide. As meanwhile, Quirk says, thank you very much, Mavix. I'll take that place. So that's up to 8th place now for Quirk. Mavix runs wide. That's going to leave him open to Rye.
It is, yeah, and you get a 1x there, not a full slowdown on that spot, obviously. Second chicane is where a lot of the guys are getting caught out for it, jumping over the curb. Man, Heike is just relentless. He's going for every draft he can possibly get, and here we go. Dan Suzuki now this time might get the better run, but he's got a car in front of him that's impeding his position and his game because he can't go through Jardier. He's got to just sit and hold and 3 wide. I would have thought he tries to actually bump draft maybe down and find an opportunity because you better have this move pretty well done. Look who's getting the best draft out of all of this.
Yeah, Matt Malone, he's got the choice of draft, but nowhere to go with it. As they go 3 wide into the Rettifilio, once again on the brakes. And incredibly, Dan Suzuki around the outside. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll take 4th place in this race.
And smart from Jardier. I think Jardier backed out of that one. You could see him break a little bit earlier. No, thank you. I don't need to be eating this sandwich. So Pretty smart from him to get out of it. They all get through. I'm very impressed. I thought Matt Malone's patience would pay off there and he'd get one from it, but Rye was actually the one that spun just behind, so he's back down the order now into 13th position.
As there is Quirk at the wheel right now, being busy tidying up, it seems, as well. And he's on the brakes behind fellow American Matt Malone. Going to work their way through the Lesmos now. Get on the brakes, as I say, throw the car in. You can use that inside curb, that's not too bad. You really feel that compression and pull the car around. Careful on the exit of the Lesmo though, because you can get an off-track penalty around here when you go too far wide there. But onto the brakes into this car as you can. Launch the car over the first left and then launch it again over the second left. But it's that second one that is important because you carry the speed, but if you hit the curb in the wrong place, you're spinning.
It is actually a bit like threading a needle. I mean, the second one and the third one has a pretty large sleeping policeman as well. And if you're tight on the second one, you can make it by the third one, but you risk unsettling the car there. And if you're loose on the second one, you're going to slam that third one. And when you're full throttle coming out, you can lose the rear on that AstroTurf on the outside. So it is almost a very accuracy-dependent corner. It makes it fun as well. I mean, similar to like Lesmo 2, like I say, it's kind of the size of your kahunas and the commitment you want to put into the car to get through it cleanly and quickly.
Malone and Jardier side by side down into the Rettifilio. It is still Lauren Heinrich at the front, you feel, by a second and a half. As we'll look from way above, and look at that Quirk taking advantage of a compromised Malone. They squeeze each other on corner exit the Rettifilio, and in fact Malone has dropped back out of that one. He possibly has a slowdown penalty there off the right hander at the Rettifilio in turn number one. That's not what Malone would have wanted right now, but into the De La Rogia, the second chicane, clamber and clatter over those curbs, use the suspension. I was going to say, Matt, if you ever want to watch a race, if you are at the Grand Prix here, you do get the Porsche Carrera Cup, of course.
You do, absolutely. Pardon my sudden gasp for air there. I thought actually Quirk was getting sideways into the entry of Lesmo 1, but he actually was taking a tighter line just to try and present. Now he's got a great run. And this is a lovely race. This is awesome. Dan Suzuki holding it. He'll be sweating it out. Borzazo's just down the road too far to reach. And keep your eye on the timing tower. And you can see as well that Heinrich is pulling away from Casey Kerwin, and both of them just having a lovely drive, a Sunday drive on a Saturday around Monza. But the rest of it is just on right now. And Quirk is in a prime position once again. He didn't quite get it done before the Scotty chicane, but into the Parabolica, all possible. Emily Jones currently making up position as well from that early spin.
Yep, she's trying to make the move on Straddy down into the Parabolica, or to give it the proper name, the Curva Michele Alboreto. As they go out of that corner, I'll forever be calling it the Parabolica. It's an iconic corner. Everybody knows what that is. Down towards the Rettifilio once again. We've got 5.5 minutes remaining in this race. The front three are pretty much sorted. They're pretty much as they are. This race right here, fourth all the way back to 11th. Oh, contact! Jardier's up and down. Quirk is around. Emily misses it. Straddy makes contact.
That's not a spinning top. That's not how you use a Porsche. Oh, that's awful. That was a huge one, and you're right. They just got into each other. Quirk unwilling to give track space. And I didn't really catch the start of it because I was looking at the timing screen for a second, but that was no question a bit of contact on both parties, and I think that I have to see the overlap amount, but that is brutal.
I can guarantee that our producers will be, and our team behind the scenes will be working hard to get us a replay of that one, no doubt. But this one here, it's still not over. It's still 4 cars then to decide it. Then 4th through to 7th. And Emily's not that far back. She managed to avoid that spinning top car. You're absolutely right, Jardier. And she's still got an opportunity of getting herself into the top 7 and up. And let's not forget that race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the championship between 5 drivers. 5 into 4 doesn't go.
No, it really doesn't. Not coming out complete, at least. So here we go. There's where your eyes need to be right now. Jardier, this is the car that got absolutely sent and spun around on its roof at the end of this. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the championship. 5 into 4 doesn't go. No, it really doesn't. Not coming out complete, at least. So here we go. There's where your eyes need to be right now. Jardier, this is the car that got absolutely sent and spun around on its roof at the end of this. So into one, condensed corner looking for the apex, held well from Quirk on the outside, and he knows he's got the track. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit of both. I mean, Quirk definitely has the right to that position, could have lifted to get out of it, but isn't really obliged to do so, and I think Yardier just didn't realize he still was overlapped and came over a bit too soon, so squeezing Quirk, and Quirk being the man he is, unwilling to give him that spot. Kind of more on Yardier, if you ask me.
It's what you get when you get competitive people together. You know, they're going to take every little advantage that they can and try and it's that risk and reward, isn't it?
Well, and that's a tough one too, because like it was, you know, you're coming out of the corner, you're looking at the mirror, you're watching the, you know, your revs and making sure you're getting on the power, and it was a marginal. Like he did almost have the gap, another half a foot, and he was forward enough, so it was easy to just misjudge that in that situation, and you know, you get a lot of wheel spin there. You're tough to control it, but man, oh man. Lauren Heinrich is cruising right now, even over the man who's been so impressive since he joined, Casey Kerwin, who's had the pace on this field and still does. I mean, he has a 7-second gap to third, so Heinrich just on another level today.
This is brilliant stuff to watch here. There's Emily Jones now. She's ahead of Matt Malone, so she's moved another position up here in this race after, as we say, getting tagged in the Retophilia start of the race. Heike 360 making some moves in towards the Scara chicane, but not making it stick. He's going to stay where he is, and Matt Malone with significant damage to the front of his car. He'll be lucky to hang on to the coattails of Emily.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. She's looking like she's got some pace. Obviously, we knew she did. She qualified in the top 5 and was not too far off of, you know, back 3. Casey and I think Lauren were a little bit out of reach, but we talked about the competitiveness of the rest of the field. Look at Matt just manhandling that steering wheel, just trying to hold on to it the whole way through the corner. Almost got the white knuckles he's squeezing so hard, but either way, he manages to try and get a run, but Emery's just a little too quick, so I don't think he's going to quite get the pull that he wanted down the front straight away. And Emery, yeah, back up to 7th now. Great recovery. Remember, we do reverse grid in this as well, which that could be fun with Lord maybe not getting the breakaway at the start. Maybe Casey's able to latch onto him and make it a little bit more of a contest near the end of the race. Once again, Heike, a lot of wheel spin out of the corner and has immediately a problem because side by side, it's going to be Mavix that's trying to take that position. And Mavix is looking very competitive today.
Yeah, very racy, absolutely. I completely agree with you with that one. Into the De La Roja, looking left, looking right. He's compromising Heike's line through there, but Heike gets a really good launch over the curbs. That's giving him a little bit of breathing space between himself and Mavix for 5th and 6th places, and Emily is right there with them. Meanwhile, a little bit further back is Hydro versus Rai right now. We're on board with Rai. In 10th place is Hydro, 11th for Rai, and Tyson Meyer.
Yeah, and this time, remember at the start, he had to go all the way to the back based on the slowdown of taking evasive action. Next time, obviously, was the contact that we saw with Jardier, and now he's on recovery mode once more. A little bit bent and twisted in the front of that Porsche 992 Cup, but he might be sitting back. Who knows at this point if he's conceded. He's already got the championship. Why not take that reverse grid and end of the season with a win as well? So maybe he is. Matthew Backer right now inside, so he's going to sneak by and take a position over that of Hydro, and it looks like Hydro's actually lost the position as well to Tyson. Meanwhile, further up, it's Mavix on Emily Jones, or vice versa. She's come up through the field, but she's on the outside of Parabolica and still holds it.
Yeah, she still holds it, but the thing is, you could get on the power earlier out of the Parabolica if you're on the outside line. You can carry the speed then out the corner and down the straight, and that's crucial for you heading in towards the Retophilia. The white flag is out, so this is the start of the last lap of the race here. And the two of them giving themselves plenty of space, a lot of respect shown between the two of them. Emily not the best exit out of the Retophilia, and there goes Mavix once again. I said they were showing respect to each other. That's not quite what I was imagining.
Nah, it was just a high five. It was the best of respect. This is going to be tight though. Last lap, so they're going to be going for it. Maddie Malone deep and hard on the brakes, but not close enough. That overlap, oh, great racing room given. Give Mavix credit there because Emily could have easily got into the back of him inadvertently in that one. So now he's got to go defensive though, because that would compromise his run through Retophilia. And here we go into the Lesmos. Not going to be a pass, but look for a run. Emily just needs to set herself up for the exit.
Yeah, it's all about that run out of this corner. She gets the better line. Matt Malone is sideways through Lesmo 2. Here is your race leader, though, Lauren Heinrich, the Porsche Junior driver. And he has come along and decided, I want all the prizes for today, which is just a race win. Once again, he won both races at Hockenheim at the start of the season, and now through the Parabolica he goes. It's going to be a race win here in the sprint race for the Porsche Esports Tag Heuer Esports All-Star event here in this one, but the racing is not over further down because Emily Jones, Mabix and Matt Malone, they're racing to the line. Out of the Parabolica they go. And meanwhile, Dan Suzuki and Heike 360, they're going to be close across the line. And I think it's just Dan Suzuki who gets that one over Heike 360.
Yeah, well done to Dan holding on to that 4th place. He had it the whole race, and he would have been sweating looking in his mirror. Thankfully, everyone else was busy behind as well and couldn't focus a full attack onto him, as Tyson Meyer will finally get across the line. I want to give a shout-out to Rye as well. Sure, he did have a spin on his own about midway through the race, but he's got some pace today. This is a good step for him, and reverse grid, keep it clean, and you'll see some of those guys gain some results today. I really think the reverse grid, with how tight it is, you're going to see some top finishers that we don't normally see.
Well, there is your results for the sprint race. Lauren Heinrich is the winner here, with Casey Kerwin a distant 2nd place. Borja Zazo was not able to match the speed of his fellow podium sitters there in 3rd place, with Dan Suzuki winning out that one by just about 3/100ths of a second over Heike 360. Emily Jones able to finish in 6th place ahead of Marco Bischoff, with Matt Malone, Stradi and Rye rounding out the top 10. 11th for Hydro, just ahead of Quirk. Banana Braids Racing, the last driver to finish the race, and then drivers at the race. It was Jardier, it was Maxime and James Gamer Muscle, should I say. But here is your points as they stand right now. Borja Zazo with a 3-point lead now over Casey Kerwin for that 2nd place. And Emily Jones, she's still in with the hunt of this one, 7 points off of Borja.
Yeah, defending champion Emily Jones as well, but that's crazy that Borzazo, another one who's been just consistent this year and keeps getting the results in. I know Emily did miss at least one race this year, but Casey Kerwin, put it on it. I think he jumps this. I think he ends up in 2nd by the end of this if he continues with the pace he just had. Mind you, he now has to go way to the back and work his way through. So if anything can happen, maybe some drama, but that notwithstanding, he's definitely got the pace to overtake for that 2nd place. As we look back on some of the action, whether it was forwards or backwards, it wasn't the right start for Emily.
Certainly wasn't. Dan Suzuki, we'll look at here just on board, and there we saw plenty of action down at the Rettifilia. Jardier was one of those key ones who were involved in that race for 4th place, and it was this incident here that forced Jardier out of the race. Quirk had to recover. Stradi got involved in that one as well. But certainly a tremendously entertaining race it was for that 4th place. They certainly do put on a show for us here in the All-Stars.
Oh, absolutely. I've been so impressed in both seasons. In this the 2nd season, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of this PESC broadcast, this Porsche broadcast, and I really am impressed with how the influencers and all-stars end up racing. Because I've said it before, sometimes you think, oh yeah, great, this would be a doozy, but it's been really good every single time, and we've had some incredible races as well. I think the Cayman this year was very good for this field.
Yeah, certainly these all-stars, they put on a tremendous show and had some of the most entertaining racing of the season. Don't let the PESC drivers hear me say that, but certainly they put on a good show.
Yeah, let's not disregard that either, though. The PESC has been, the actual Supercup stuff has been absolutely insane this year, and I think you said it, we had one of the best races, if not the best race we've ever had all season long at Spa, and then Le Mans was decent last time out as well. Huge save from Seb that just showed off incredible skill and car control. We've had some really, really good racing in both series this year, no question about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't go anywhere because we've got the main race in the All-Stars coming up in just about 2 minutes' time. And then after that, we will be heading over to the main event of today's broadcast, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. It's been a tremendous season, as we've been saying all the way through this broadcast, and certainly it's a delight to have everybody here joining us on the show. And, this All-Stars second race as we'll have a look at the venue that we're at, which is at Monza. Reverse grid race now. Everybody's inverted here, Matt. What's going to be the key for Casey Kerwin and Lauren Heinrich from the back of the grid?
Don't die. Avoid getting murdered. Just work your way through. Do what you can. Stay out of trouble. Try and just work together even to some extent. Don't race each other too early. Sure, Casey might want to try and get ahead of him so that he at least has that jump on him when they do get to the front and then can maybe defend and latch onto the draft as opposed to where he lost it early in the last race. But there's no need for them to start tripping over each other as well as the field that they're going to try and work through, because they both have the pace and they've proved that they can still win this in the reverse grid front to back. So yeah, I just think you got to keep it clean and be patient and do the job at the end.
And at least the good thing about this is as well that those drivers who got caught up in that lap on incident, sorry, go on.
No, I just realized, opened 1922. I didn't even realize Monza was 100 this year. So that means that I imagine the Italian Grand Prix will be pretty exciting, because they'll certainly mention that. But yeah, that's super cool. 100 years of racing here at Monza.
And I was just about to say, those drivers that got caught up in that lap one incident of Gamer Muscle and Maxime, this gives them a tremendous opportunity from the front row of the grid to hopefully make it past turn one, or actually make it to turn one, should I say, after that sprint race, but give them a tremendous chance of getting a decent result to finish off the season.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, that's the thing right now. Let's have a little bit of fun. You know, Quirk's already mathematically our champion provisionally, but let's go out with a bang, right? Let's see a last race that's one to remember, and I think all these guys will be putting it down for that reason.
Absolutely. So you've seen the front of the grid, Maxime, James West, with Jardier and Milana Braids Racing. Then we've got Quirk. He's going to be the one to look out for here as a possible race winner. Starting 5th place, 3rd row of the grid. You've got Idra, Rai, we've got Stradi, Matt Malone, Mavix, Emily Jones, Heike 360, but the green light will be showing momentarily. Drivers looking to that starter's gantry. Green flag, not a good launch for Maxime from the front row of the grid. We've got a car spun around at the back, at the side, but they're going to carry on. But it's side by side then. It's Jardier and Gamer Muscle in towards turn number 1. Is everybody going to behave themselves and get through nice and cleanly? I know that in the driver's briefing they were asked to try and keep it clean. Maxime just losing a little bit of adhesion, dropping down the order here. But it was actually, I believe it was Idra who had the spin right at the start.
Yeah, Julian's all the way at the back of that one, and just a lot of wheel spin off the start. Didn't see if there was contact, because obviously our vision was impeded by everyone else, and it still is impeded because they're 4 wide heading down in toward the second chicane. Matty Malone well on the inside of Maxime, smartly backs out of that one, and away they'll go, all getting through it as well. And Mabix is still trying to get the job done as Lauren Heinrich's making his way through in the 911 car, the official Porsche livery, silver and blue, as the Cup car gets delivered to its customers. But that, Quirk, big slide. That was a pretty tidy start. In fact, so nice, in fact, that I think poor Maxime almost got caught out by her own manners. She was being so polite to leave room on the exit. She took so much curve and lost that reel. And we do have a spinner further back. Matty Malone off wide, but Mabix is, yeah, there you go, gone and around.
Oh, Gamer Muscle and Quirk going at it into the Ascara chicane. We've not seen these two race each other that much this season, so go on, James, give it a good go. I know he usually has a fish on his wall, but I think maybe an emperor penguin has had it because it's disappeared from his wall. Has that fish, but still, towards the back end. That's a bit of a lockup.
A bit of a lockup because I think he was about to have contact. Unfortunately, that's going to kill his run onto the front straightaway, but yeah, I was about to say this is the battle of the Baldies, or the big fish in the sea, as you could say. These two guys going at it, two huge personalities, tons of fun. But here we are going to look back at our start, and we'll see if there's contact. So 3rd row, lot of wheel spin. Does he get hit by Strati on the way back? No, he just lost it on the wheel spin. Just never collected that again and overheated the tires. Round he went.
It's so easily done as well with this car. You drop the clutch and those rears light up. You've got to then try and recover them somehow, but if it just keeps on going, then it goes around. There's Casey Kerwin then. He's up to 10th place in this one. crucially for him, though, is behind Lauren Heinrich. In all of this, Game of Muscles all sorts of out of shape. That was contact there between him and Emily Jones. He's going to have an awful slowdown penalty there, having to take to the escape road at the De La Rocha. But well held, though, from Game of Muscles.
Very well held. That was a tag slapper that he kept straight while under brakes from a very high-speed exit at Curva Grande into the second chicane. Here, we're going to look back at it. Still has that slowdown, I think, so he's got to pull it to the right and allow Stratty to go through. Just a tap at the wrong time, just enough to put him deep right there. Oh, in fact, as he gets on the brakes, as he gets sideways, that is very well held from that angle.
Incredible stuff from James. I know we've given, I've given him Heinrich's round! And Heinrich's round. There's down Suzuki's taken avoiding action and ended up in the wall. But Lauren Heinrich, our race winner, and Casey Kerwin's got damage to his car as well. This is absolutely sensational. We come back to live pictures. Heinrich and Kerwin have got damage. Well, the left side of Heinrich's car is damaged, the right side of Kerwin's car is damaged. Can we put 2 and 2 together?
I think we can, but this is exactly what we're going to see it right now. This is exactly what I was saying not to do. Don't get involved with each other early. Get through the field first. Oh, Heike got into it, and then there was just a Constantina effect. Everybody gets taken out on that. So everyone checked up, knowing that that car, that Heike bouncing off the wall, was likely going to rejoin somewhere, and it was just a misread. Someone slows, the other doesn't, and they all get collided into. That's unfortunate, but it's Casey Kerwin that serves to lose the most in this, because he could have got second in the championship. Could have easily, I mean, he's ahead of Emery right now. He's ahead of, just behind Borzazzo, but now he's behind both of them by a significant margin in the race.
Yeah, they've both come onto pit road of Kerwin and Lauren Heinrich as well, so it's not going to be 2 race wins for Lauren here today. Tyson Mayer, Quirk, at the front of your field by just 4/10 of a second over Jardier, with Emily Jones in 3rd place. So Emily wants to get herself some good points here to try and get herself 2nd place in this championship. As we've said, though, all along with these All-Stars, the top 5, they get themselves a Tag Heuer connected watch, and I'll be honest, I'm jealous of them because I could do that watch.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, maybe I could because I was a little late today. So, you know, we'll figure that one out. But no, look, I've just been told the officials and our replay guys are looking through the footage, but it may have actually been connected all the way back to that Emery incident where she got into the back of Gamer Muscle because he still had a slowdown. And just before we went back to live pictures, we saw him pulling to the right out of Lesmo 2. Now, him slowing down with other cars on the left and the right and everyone's trying to overtake, they may have actually got into each other based on him being slower on the surface.
It's incredible how one little incident that happens at one part of the track here at Monza can just exacerbate and end up causing a bigger problem out there on track for those out there on the straight. But Emily Jones, look at that, fastest lap of the race. She's having a little look, but we've got 21 minutes left here. We've still got plenty of time.
Well, and live points tracking right now, I think she's far enough up the road on Borzazzo. She could jump to 2nd. So here we go. Gamer Muscle's the highlighted car. He's the one with the slowdown. We're on board with Casey Kerwin at this point in time. And it's exactly this. They're already 2x2. He's off throttle, and he sees them coming, tries to get further to the right. And unfortunately, Lauren Heinrich is tucked so far in the draft, just doesn't see it. He pulls out from behind Heike, nowhere to go. There's a slower car, and everyone just gets absolutely smoked because they're all carrying a ton of speed. And you can see what happened. Heinrich pops out, bounces back in, and Casey gets into the back of him. And unfortunately, the 2 front runners of our first race are no longer with us in this one.
Do you know what? That reminds me of something that happened at Fuji Speedway the other week.
I think I saw that on the front straightaway. Yes, exactly that. There was a car that was slowing, and the draft. Yeah, I know exactly the incident you're referring to, and I can't remember the drivers' names, but that was a very scary incident, no question. Was it Fuji or was it Okayama?
It was Fuji.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is coming to iRacing.
That's awesome, by the way. I think Fuji's Australia. Japan is one of the countries with the best circuits. I mean, if you look at the US, you've got a number of legendary circuits. Certainly in Europe, you kind of look to Germany, UK, those 2 have a lot. Australia's got a ton, but I think Japan's underrated. You got Autopolis, Fuji, Suzuka, Okayama. There's so many good tracks over there, and I'm stoked that Fuji's coming to iRacing. That's a great addition to the game.
And, well, if you do want to try out Fuji, then do head on over. It's not quite available yet. It's It's coming though. It's coming as Fuji, and we've seen the little teasers on the iRacing social media. Check it out, iRacing.com. Get yourself a new membership and come join the party, because every day is a race day here on iRacing.
So we're going to look back at a replay with Matty Malone at this point, because he is well down the order. So we'll see what happened with him. In fact, he's showing us second last on our timing screen. Lesmo 2 in over the curb. Good exit, but a slide. That would have given him a 1X.
Oh.
And then, that might be a hardware issue, I think, because suddenly he's just veering hard to the left on exit. So that might be just an unfortunate thing out of his control. The mechanical of sim racing, shall we call it.
Yeah, hardware issue, that you do generally see it, don't you, where the car just suddenly goes to the left-hand side of the track then and doesn't carry on. But yeah, Malone is out of this race. He's testing out his wheel. He's sat there. Oh, yeah, he knows it. He's out of this race. He's gutted. Hang on that. Fix the haircut, make sure you look good for the camera. But yeah, Matt Malone out of this race now, as Heinrich and Kerwin are still together out there on track. Just unfortunate for them, they're a significant portion behind the rest of the... Well, I say that, they're only about 12 seconds off of Hydro right now. So I wouldn't rule it out that those at least get up to Hydro and possibly Mavix.
Well, aside from Lauren Heinrich and Casey Kerwin being just exceptional with their speed, this is one of the other championship races we've wanted all year. And although they haven't been this close together on track always, and Quirk, yes, we know is mathematically the champion, Emily Jones is going to give him a run here and potentially go for the lead with 17 minutes left, though. That's early, and tires will be a factor around Monza. So this is her really making a statement for the final race of the year.
Could tell you track temperature here today. If you are in the rest of the world, that's 40 degrees Celsius. If you're in North America or
wow,
certainly the United States, you're talking about around about high 90s, maybe a little 100.
Dallas temperature.
Yeah, that's it's Dallas temperature. Thankfully for you, you've got air conditioning.
Yeah, a little bit too much of it. They love the air conditioning here in Dallas. Just absolutely, it's the only place I've ever been to that you need a sweater to go inside. You come in, you're boiling from all the hot humidity, and then instantly just slammed with air. It's very easy to get a cold here, and I've been trying to keep myself from getting that, because obviously I'm here to commentate, and likewise today. But yeah, it's a tricky place. You kind of have to know to have a sweater with you at all times.
Well,
I've got something I want to do, Paul. Something I haven't done all year and should have done more of. But I want to see some people in chat. I just talked about that. What country has the best collection of circuits? Is it the UK, Germany, Japan, Australia, USA? What is it? I want to see what people think, because it's an interesting question when you consider who has the I guess, quality or quantity, depending on how you look at it. But which country is it?
Well, I'm biased, and I'll say the UK.
Yeah, that's why you don't count. I'm biased, and I'll say Canada, okay? Our 4 circuits are awesome. Leave us alone.
I love Mosport. I think it's fantastic.
Actually, you know what? It is an underrated track, but you know what? One of the best circuits to add to iRacing would be is actually owned by the Stroll family, but Mont Tremblant is beautiful. And there's another circuit a lot of people don't know about as well called Calabogie, but Calabogie is very technical, but Mont Tremblant is the first 3 corners of that track are some of the most scary, gutsiest corners I've ever driven. So yeah, that would be a lovely one to get laser scanned.
Well, heading to the front of the field here then, it is Quirk who's pulling out from the rear end of Emily's Porsche 922 into the the De La Roja, sorry. No, it is the Retifilia. I knew I'd get those two mixed up at some point in this race. Matt Malone's headed to pit road, heading out of pit road, so he's decided that he's got his wheel fixed. He's back up and running, so he is going to finish the race, although he is a couple of laps down on your leaders. But these 3 at the front, Jardier, I mean, you talk about different from the sprint race. The sprint race, all 3 of these drivers were compromised in some way. I mean, Jardier was on his roof. You had Quirk having to take avoiding action in turn 1 at the start of the race, and then getting that contact with Jardier, and Emily getting turned around on lap 1 as well. So you've got 3 drivers who were compromised in that first race. The reverse grid, the inverted grid here in the All-Stars, gives them another opportunity of a race win.
And Emily Jones still holding on to that fastest lap as well, thanks to the draft and closing up to Quirk earlier on in the race. She's obviously conceded. Look at him. He's having a great time. running the in-ears today. He's got the full display of that lovely face, which is all over his car as well, just in case you don't see it enough there. But that even looks maybe a different camera angle or a whole different room, Paul. All I know is he's as bad at cable management as I am.
Oh, you don't want to see my cable management. It's a case of I put the cables down and then just leave it.
It's a skill in itself, man. Like, and the sim rig has so many. I don't know how people do it. I know Phil Stam with Coanda is ridiculously meticulous with them. If he saw my room, he'd have a heart attack.
If you want to see good cable management, it's actually Gamer Russell, but unfortunately he's in pit road right now at this race after that huge incident at the first couple of laps of this race. But yeah, he is meticulous when it comes to his cable management, is certain James West. But looking at this race right now, we've got Straddy and we've got Heike 360. Straddy and Mavics, they've been a really good addition to the series, coming in halfway through the season and really added to it. And it's made the life of Heike here a little bit more difficult. He did get that race win, of course, did Heike, at his home track at Barcelona. Since then, it's been a little bit tricky for him out there in the series.
So a couple people in chat saying USA, of course, because Merca. But obviously there's a couple different responses here, and a couple people as well saying the UK to agree with you. But one interesting one that's been thrown in as well was Italy or Spain. And I don't know if there's enough quantity to compete with the others. But Italy certainly, you know, you've Mugello, you've got Imola, you've got here at Monza. So that's an interesting one. Misano, yep, not a bad shout at all. And then in Spain, you've got Valencia and Barcelona, the two big ones for me. So, I mean, there's definitely some quality circuits there, but it's interesting. I would say Italy might even have an argument. You could definitely argue for that one for sure.
I've noticed that we're not mentioning the country of our title holders of the series of Germany. We're not saying them at all in this discussion here.
Yeah, I threw it out there. I mean, I think it could. Nürburgring's phenomenal. Let's be honest. Then you've got Auschwitz Ring. You've got Norris Ring, which is a street track, so I won't always include those, but yes, it is there technically. I mean, what else? You got so many there. Nürburgring GP as well as the full circuit. Hockenheim obviously comes to mind. There's probably 10 tracks in Germany you can name. Oschersleben, although
Oschersleben, yeah.
First corner can bite me.
Well, we all
heard a better term.
We all heard what John Cleland's thoughts on turn one of Oschersleben is.
Perfect. I don't know why they redesigned it. I thought the flow of it before was actually quite good, so especially at starts of the race. But yeah, I don't disagree with John Cleland on that. Maybe we don't need to go that far with the violence, but I understand his sentiment.
Well, these three at the front of the field, I think this is going to come down to a last lap lunge from one of these three. They're really just staying as they are right now. They're looking after their cars. You've got the race for the lead there on the main screen. Bottom left, it's the race for fourth place between Straddy and Heike 360. And then that race for ninth, you've got Maxime up there in ninth place. That's, I mean, yeah, you pointed it out that she was being very polite at the start of the race, but here's the key thing. She's still in this race, and she's in the top 10 right now. She's got Mavics there with her. And Nana Braid's Racing, not that far back either.
No, she's doing very well today. I think maybe, you know, Monza, it's one of the most driven tracks in the sim. Everyone seems to have pretty equal pace here. And I was saying we might have some interesting results here. Jardier doing well this race as well, having been taken out. Straddy, I think this would be his best result in the series since joining it. And Heike 360, he was a winner at Barcelona as his home track earlier in the season. Haven't seen much from him at times. So fifth, Rye in sixth, great drive. We saw that he had pace despite the spin. And I think both Mavics and Maxime looking pretty racy today as well. So yeah, I think this is great to see some extra, you know, razzle-dazzle, as I will. I don't know where I was going. You know what I mean? A little more pace for some of these guys at the end of the year. And it just goes to show there's skill in every single driver in this series.
Certainly is, as Emily going to the inside line for the Rettifilio once again. Onto the brakes. Quirk looking to try and get the run out of that chicane. Jardier, I've just got the feeling that Jardier is just happily, and he will be happy, sitting there in third place, waiting for his opportunity. Look at him, he's got a grin on his face. He's happy right now, third place. He's waiting for these two to get into each other, and then he'll say thank you very much and I'll go by.
I mean, even if he sits back right now comfortably, not really overdriving, 9 minutes to go. You said it, 40-degree track temperature. We're at that threshold where tires are going to be affected at the end of this race. Just, excuse me, just on that alone. I mean, just on the heat. So he might be in the prime position, really. And even if, like you say, even gifted it, even better. But I think you'll see him make a charge late.
Do you think he's got enough airflow in his PC behind there? He's got a lot of fans in that PC.
Listen, every fan and respective RGB light in your PC is 5 horsepower in iRacing. I thought you knew that, Paul.
Again, another reason why I'm doing so poorly on iRacing then. But yeah, Jardier happily right there, just sitting, waiting patiently. Can't afford to let those two pull away a little bit too much though. He's got to keep within that drafting distance, and they've back straight through the Parabolica and down through the start and finish straight. Will help him there. That's a big twitch from Quirk on the exit of the Parabolica, trying to get the power down. He's got the slipstream. There's the multiple faces of Quirk. Here comes Quirk to the left-hand side. Jardier's going to follow him. He's not trying to go to the inside of Emily. Not trying to make it 3 wide. So that's Quirk. A little lock up of the brakes. Meanwhile, Ike 360 making a move on Stradi. And Javier Soto trying to get the up and under out of the Retifilia, but not working there. Here's Emily though. Emery alongside Quirk once again in towards the Della Roggia. Can she get that line? Yeah, nicely done, but she's going to be compromised on corner exit here, and around she goes!
She gets assisted. I think unfortunately, yes, she gets assisted, but she was sideways on her own before that, and I think Quirk's being polite. He's going to sit and wait. He feels bad for that one. I don't think he would have got a penalty for that. I think he's just being courteous at this point in time. Yet not really his fault, but she was sideways. He's on the go pedal, and the gap gets closed, and he gives her an assist and a shove. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, look, Jardier got exactly what you said he might. He might have got the gift out of this, but it's not what you would have wanted to see for the overall fight for the front. So they're still there. They didn't lose any more positions, really. They're still second and third, respectively, but this brings Heike and Stradi right back onto them.
That's exactly what I was going to mention. Heike and Stradi are right there with them now, so they're getting that draft, and they'll get brought up to that. Here's a second look then at this one. There you see Emily Jones circled on the screen, and I thought the better run is by Quirk, and I think it's just that better run, and Emily's back end just coming out just that little bit.
Yeah,
and around she goes. And
she may have been gone on her own, but either way, she was in a slide. Whether she was going to save it, unfortunately, the slide is ultimately what led to the assist because Quirk's just so close that he has nowhere to go, and she's slowing in front due to that slide. So very polite of him to wait. Full credit to Tyson for that. But 6th place right now on the road might be a change of order because poor Jazo is trying to get the move done onto Rai, and it looks like he's got that one pretty cleanly.
Rai backed out of that one. He was thinking long game here, I think, is Rai, and trying to make this one count. Now, here's Lauren Heinrich. We said that he would possibly be catching up along with Casey Kerwin. He's already up to 11th. He's caught up to the back of Altia in the Banana Braids Racing. And certainly the race for 10th place is on here. And Lauren, with the pace that he's shown, I hate to say it, but it's almost an inevitability.
I think so, yeah. I mean, this is pretty impressive. Now, interestingly enough, despite him getting the fast repair, getting back on circuit, he's not done the fastest lap. That still belongs to Emily Jones. So he is getting through the field. He is showing some pace. I don't think with 5 minutes left he has any chance of closing in, 20-some seconds, 26 seconds. So still be interesting to see what else he can close down on because just 6 seconds up the road, you've got both Mavix and Dan Suzuki. So potentially he could get to 8th place before the end of this.
And that would be a tremendous effort if he does. Make it all the way up there. Looking at this, Emily and Quirk together once again on track. Quirk did do the right thing. You're absolutely right. Did the gentlemanly driver thing and said, no, I made contact. You need to redress the position. You stay ahead. And that's exactly what he did. You know, it's, as much as it's hard-fought racing here, in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars, there is still a certain amount of respect between the drivers out there on track. But Quirk, oh, Jones onto the grass there, heading into the braking zone. That's not ideal, but she keeps it on track, keeps ahead of Quirk for the time being. These two can't afford to trip up too much. Jones onto the gravel, Quirk's still behind, and Heike 360 is just getting closer and closer. What's Quirk doing there? I think we've just lost. Matt there just for a second. By the looks of things.
There we go. I'm back.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Little mute button issue. Pressed it twice, not once. But no, he's obviously having a fun time. He's a little embarrassed with the hit. Doesn't want to get into the back of her again here. And yeah, I think he's just enjoying himself, obviously, and good camaraderie between them. As we said, was polite already once, but they're actually a little bit quicker than Yardier again. So they were 5 seconds back, but I don't think there's time enough to catch him. Yardier might have, exactly as you said it, been gifted that position. And now the podium is up for grabs because there's 4 cars in the race for second.
This is absolutely sensational. Brilliant stuff and a great way to finish off the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars season. Quirk, he is going to be the champion. We know that for sure. It's the former champion in front of him right now. Last year's champion, Emily Jones, who's in second place. Quirk, third place with Heike 360 and Stradic right behind him in fourth and fifth places. Borjazazo, he's not close enough to make any moves to these drivers, so unless they start tripping over each other, I think Borja's going to have to settle for at most 6th place here. Across the line they go. We should have about 2 laps remaining in this race. Onto the brakes once again. It's incredible just how late you can break into this first chicane and make it stick.
It is pretty impressive. The 992 is definitely better under braking than the predecessor, obviously. A little bit more width in the front track of the tire and overall width of the car, the chassis, and also a bit more aero. So it does brake about 50 meters later than at least I was capable of in the 991. So it's pretty capable. One more penalty, though, and I think Emily Jones might get a drive-through. So she's going to have to be very timid for the last few laps here, the last 2 and a bit, because keep in mind, she's in second right now. Borjazazo's only 6th, and I think there's, 3 points between them, so she cannot afford to give this spot up if she wants to hold on to second place in the championship. And close there on the exit of Lesmo 1.
And yeah, it's Lesmo 2 where you've really got to be careful. You can run a little bit too far wide and get an off-track penalty there. And any sort of penalty for her right now will be costly in that race for second place in the championship, of course, as we head on to the brakes once again through the Ascari chicane. Launch the car over the curbs, down the back straight, head towards the Parabolica once again. The penultimate time in this race. Jardier is 3.5 seconds ahead. Even though these drivers have been tripping over each other, they've been able to catch up about 1.25 seconds, 1.5 seconds in the last 3 laps here.
They have. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Jardier doesn't need to overdrive. Obviously, these guys are all in a draft train. That'll give them a bit more pace as well. But Jardier is, I think, probably doing the smart thing right now, just maintaining that gap. He doesn't need to do anything over exuberant. No need to put a wheel wrong or a foot wrong. So just keep it clean. And I don't think they'll catch him. But yes, they are having pace. And another look from Quirk. Final lap has begun, and he's trying to get around the outside of Emery under braking. The problem is that leaves him vulnerable to Heike 360. They all get through, though, and Heike doesn't quite get a look.
And don't forget as well, Heike's trying to get himself a top 5 finish in the championship here. So don't write him out of making some moves here on Quirk. He wants to get in that top 5. As Casey Kerwin moves up into 11th place, I see on the timing tower, the left-hand side of your screen. So he's making some last-minute moves. Emily, all sorts of out of shape through the Della Rosia. Quirk staying behind for the time being. Is this going to be a drag race down to the finish line?
Emily's going to be holding her breath as well, because keep in mind, if he even accidentally gets into the back of her and she gets a 4X, a 1X, anything at this point, she's done.
Yeah, that is the last thing that she wants right now. Plunge downhill. Look at that Heike 360. Quirk's forgetting about making moves on Emily. He's going to have to go on the defensive here. He can go around the outside. There's a little bit of a rub between them, and that's going to help Emily in all of that. She's going to get a little bit of a gap here. But Heike 360 now, he's a little bit of a sitting duck because Stradi gets a good run out this Gara chicane. Meanwhile, Jardier, for the final race of the season, the final main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars, Jardier is going to be a race winner. He loves it. He's excited. And who can blame him? He's across the line. Race winner here in the main race. And it is going to be Emily Jones in second ahead of Quirk, with Heike 360 then in fourth place. Javier Soto in fifth place. Lauren Heinrich making moves on Dan Suzuki. Matt, you said he could possibly get it. There's a little bit of a rub between the two of them, but it is Lauren Heinrich who just gets it.
Just barely. Yeah, great recovery from him. Good pace. And there's Casey Kerwin crossing the line, but came into this with a chance at stealing second in the championship. I think he'll have to settle for fourth with that result because both Borjazo and Emily are ahead going into this final race and ahead on the circuit as Maxime comes across the line. We've got Maxib, who showed pace at times, as well as Maddie Malone still concluding their races. So good action today again, it has to be said. That fight at the front, the race all the way through with Emily and Quirk, and then Jardier obviously inheriting the win, but that was fantastic to watch. I wanted more of that between them all year.
Well, let's take you to your Buzz post-race show here for the final time in the All-Stars. Give you your race results here as well. And what a race it was. Jardier, who takes the win then by about 2.5 seconds, ahead of Emily Jones in second place, with Tyson Meyer Quirk in third place. The donuts are on offer here for Jardier, and who can blame him? They're not fat-free, they're full of tyre smoke, and why wouldn't you celebrate that? The final race winner of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Heike 360 finished in fourth, ahead of Stradi in fifth place, with Borjazazo sixth. And then it was Rai, seventh place, really good result for him, ahead of Lauren Heinrich in eighth. Dan Suzuki just missing out in ninth place, ahead of Mavix in 10th place. 11th for Casey Kerwin then, not able to recover quite as much as Lauren. Banana Bread Racing in 12th. Maxime finishes in 13th, and drivers who did not finish: Hydra, Matt Malone did finish, but 2 laps down, and then Gamer Muscle. Yeah,
Gamer Muscle didn't unfortunately get very far in this one, as thought we might see a bit more from him early on, not his day, and yeah, Matt Malone obviously had that steering wheel issue that we saw. So, look, good race, though, has to be said. The reverse grid, unfortunate, we lost sort of Heinrich and Kerwin. Could have been an amazing battle, but oh, look at the standings. That's so close. We said it was going to be close between Emily Jones and Borjazo, but Tyson Meyer, champion provisionally, Paul, or are you going to crown him right now?
He is definitely champion in my eyes here. He's ended up 94 points clear, with Emily Jones finishing in second ahead of Borjazo. Casey Kerwin and Heike 360 round out your top 5. And Matt, I do believe that you've got a certain race winner with us.
I do, yeah, Jardier, and what a race win it was. Great way to end the season, I think, it has to be said. But you were just kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden, the sea is parted for you.
Yes, thank you. Finally, I got a little bit of luck, you know. And yeah, as you said, great way to finish the season. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it has been a fun season. Today might be the highlight for you, but how is it to be back in the Cup car? And are you looking forward to maybe joining again next season?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Cup car like so much, and obviously, like as you said, like I absolutely didn't have at all pace to like fight with Emily and Quirk. I was just trying to be patient. You know, the slipstream is huge, so I was just being patient, and I was like kind of hoping maybe they will have a slowdown, maybe they will touch or something, and I will have at least like P1, P2 chance in the last lap. But I don't know, like I think like Quirk just touched a little bit on Emily from behind, and he was very gentleman to wait, so I literally was very lucky there, yeah.
So you didn't wait. You're not the gentleman. No, look, it wasn't your fault. I don't blame you. Great win. I mean, you were there. You were in position to take the opportunity, and way to do it. That's awesome. At Monza as well. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and great to see you. As just quickly as well, I want to know what was your highlight, Emily? Because today was first. Actually, before I get into your highlight of the season, you had 1x left before a penalty, did you not?
I did, yes. I was living on the edge for the last couple laps. Yeah.
I don't know how, Quirk behind you as well. You must have just been like crossing your fingers.
I was. So I was like, he hit me like maybe once, which took me to 19 incidents, and I was panicking. And then I told my chat to go into his stream and say that I'll let him pass with 1 to go.
That's why he was laughing.
He thought that was going to happen, and then I didn't. I just psyched him out and blocked him. So it was good.
We saw him kind of covering his face and laughing. I thought there must have been some sort of interaction there. A highlight of the season for you?
Honestly, this race was pretty fun. Like this whole thing is pretty good. I'm still jet lagged after being overseas for a bit, so this actually feels like a good time to be awake doing racing. I don't know. The whole season's been really fun. Like the quality of driving's been a lot higher. So it's been a good season.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been great to have you. And second place, you secured that today, so congratulations. Hopefully, we'll see you next year.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the racing. Yeah,
I think we did. Another guy that we enjoyed racing today as well, Matthew Vacker. Obviously, you were busy last week as well, back in your home now and back on iRacing and looking pretty sharp today. I think that was some of the best pace you've had all year.
Yeah, that's true. And to be clear, the 992 Cup is one of the difficult cars to drive for me personally. No ABS, no traction control. That was really, really intense at the start of the season. And at the end, I wanted to do a good job. And for me, P7 in the end felt like a podium. So the pace of the whole group of all other drivers is insane. iRacing is not a game or a simulation I played a lot. And so it's fun to compete with all these guys.
Yeah, well, obviously you've done well and improved as you use that car. What was your highlight for the season as we wrap this one up?
Highlight, I think it's all times Nordschleife. Not many simulations has it. I play most times other simulations. They have not the Nordschleife. Nordschleife, it's kind of my home race, and it's for me the best track on the calendar. So that was my highlight.
Awesome. Yeah, it is a highlight. I mean, it's a beautiful track. Thanks for joining us this year. Pretty awesome.
Thanks
I've got to move on. Oh, dude, we'll have you anytime. We hope to see you next year as well. But I do want to move on to Quirk because you get the Gentleman Award for today, I think. If there's an award I could give you. I didn't think you, of all people, Tyson, was a gentleman, but you are a champion and a scholar, sir.
Thank you. I tapped Emily a little bit there. She looked like she got a little loose, and I just kind of helped her on her way. But then I was like, well, I should probably redress that. And it was a great fight to the end, though. I'm glad I waited, and it was great.
How does it feel to be champion? Obviously, joining the series this year, you're familiar with it in the previous seasons. You knew Emily was fast. We had some quick drivers, Casey joining in, but you come out on top in the points.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for putting this on, for all the broadcasters, for iRacing, for Porsche. I know I do a lot of jokes and shenanigans in the interviews, but in all seriousness, thank you guys so much. Everybody's community has been fantastic. Every single one of these races, we have people jumping in, various chats from various streamers all the time, always saying positive things, really enjoying the races. And it's probably been one of the best things I've experienced as a streamer. And it's just been it's been a great life experience, something that I'll never forget, and I would love to do it again, and hopefully we can get some other streamers involved next time. And it's just great. The positivity from the community has been overwhelming. So,
yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for joining us. We got Lauren Heuer to talk to as well. Quirk, congratulations on a huge season.
Thank you.
And Lauren, you almost had the 100% win record on your attendance, but things didn't really go to plan that race.
Almost, yeah. You say it. The first race was going to plan, although I had to push more than I thought because Casey was in my slipstream for the first 5 laps. It was massive fun, but then in the second race, because of the reverse grid, then at Monza, it was a bit chaotic. I tried to keep my nose clean, but then I got really surprised because there was a really slow car on the straight, and the car ahead of me, he moved away in the last second, so I couldn't react. But anyways, I took the fast repair and then had a really fun race with Casey and Dan Suzuki. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me as a guest. It was a great experience.
Well, we're going to see you soon as well because you're going to join us for the Super Cup qualifying, and I can't wait to pick your brain on Monaco as well and your success there. And it was awesome to have you again. So we'll see you in just a second, Lauren. And thanks for joining us again today in the All-Star races.
See you. Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to join, I think, Paul into something pretty cool. Marius Gallenbach. There he is, the man everyone knows and loves. Got to speak with you last year, Marius, obviously in Hockenheim for our season finale. But tell us a little bit about what you do for those of you watching that maybe aren't familiar with Marius. Introduce yourself to them, I guess.
Yeah, hey guys, you're right, it's been a year since we last talked. So I'm responsible at Porsche Motorsport for the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup and officially the program Esports Racing. So not just the Supercup, but a bunch of other things too. But I'm glad that I've been with the Supercup since its beginning.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you say, we met last year and we've kept in touch. You're very involved in this project. It's been a super exciting season this year. Obviously, reigning champion Josh Rogers moved on, but we've had Sebastian Job, we've got Diogo Pinto having a heck of a season, and we still don't know the final results. I mean, what sort of news do you have for next season after, looking at this one and how well it's gone?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, to start with, it's been a crazy season. It's been so competitive all year, and I don't think anybody was able to really expect where this was going. A lot of new people coming in through the Contender Series and making this very interesting, with Diogo now leading the championship, and I'm sure we'll have a great finale tonight. So going forward, it's hard to believe since it's already been over 4 years since we started this together with iRacing. Next year is going to be our 5th year. Again, it just feels crazy to really even talk about it. We'll have a couple of changes to the series, a couple of small changes, so the rough structure stays the same. But the important notice is that we are continuing with the series, and next year will be our 5th year.
That's awesome that we're going to be continuing. I think this series is so special. I really do. I think it's one of the best fields in all of sim racing. So you say there's changes, and obviously 5th year. I assume qualifications come back. How does that work going forward?
Yeah, that's right. And that's always a big question point where people actually ask us on how they can actually go and drive against these guys on track. The way it works is actually fairly simple. So it's a 2-stage qualifying system where the first stage will start at the end of July, so not in a long couple of weeks, really it's just 2 months. And it's going to be called the qualifying series, where any iRacing member can compete, anybody can join and race against these guys online. And then the best guys from the qualifying series will actually progress and then race against the bottom half of the field that we've seen this year in the Super Cup. So they will be relegated. And then the best guys from that series, which we call the Contender Series, will actually move up to the Super Cup next year.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, it really is an open ladder system for just about anyone to try and obtain a spot in this series. What sort of timeline is on that? Because obviously you've got to do those qualifications and the Contender Series before we can get back into PESC. So what's the schedule look like?
So that's important. The important schedule really will be end of July. That's when the qualifying series will start. It will run until roughly September, and then in Q4 of 2022 we will have the Contender Series, which will be another couple of weeks. And then just like this year, we will have the first half of 2023 with the Super Cup.
Is there any tracks people can look up now to get practicing? That's only a month away, 2 months away, I guess, for the end of July.
That's a good question, and you're probably teasing me a bit. There's going to be some surprises in the schedule, and especially for the qualifying and the Contender Series. We will be releasing the regulations shortly, so there's no details on which tracks we will be using. But I think it's going to be some classics in the next year and also some new tracks and some surprises. So I think we found a good mix, and it's not going to be long until it starts, but also we're going to be releasing the schedule and the regulations shortly, so just in a couple of weeks or days.
You say surprises. This year was the first year in the 992 that we jumped forward. Last year, we released the GT3 to the game in the finals at Hockenheim. Any crazy surprises that I should know about, or are we keeping them under wraps?
Maybe, you never know. Unfortunately, we don't have a new Cup car in place, so that's going to be the same for next season. 992 car made the debut this season, and we're going to continue with that. Really happy how that went, going from the 991. It is a quite different car also in real life, so you never really know what to expect. But this season it was really phenomenal, so I'm really looking forward to having it next year as well.
Yeah, you say unfortunately. Don't apologize for that. I think the car has been fantastic. Marius, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for doing this. I mean, it's been an honor to be a part of it on the broadcast team, and it's such great racing to watch each time we're on track.
Yeah, and I have to say there's a bunch of people involved behind the scenes. Not only you guys, but the guys at iRacing are doing a phenomenal job together with us. It's really working together. I think we're over 25, 30 people who work on these projects with media guys, press guys, and everybody involved. It shows the commitment of Porsche to esports racing, but it also shows the trend that we are really doing with esports racing, pushing the whole topic forward. And it's great to have so many fans and viewers outside watching this, enjoying the races. So I'm really looking forward to the season finale. I'll be watching it myself, and I'm sure we'll have a great end to the season.
Yeah, and we might crown, well, certainly huge potential we crown a new champion with the two front runners right now being never in that position before, so it's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait to see where we end up at the end of the day. Thank you, Marius. And yeah, Paul, another season coming, and I think that's super exciting and deservedly so. I think this series has definitely carved out its place in the world.
Certainly has, and it's a tremendous series that we see week in, week out here. But to get you in the mood and to get you know the runners and riders here in this championship finale in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup, let's take a look at the drivers' parade.
Nestled in the northern forest of Lombardy lies Italy's most famous racetrack, Monza. For 3 years, this track has weaved the conclusions to our season. The birth of a star.
It is the first ever Porsche Esports Supercup champion, Joshua Rogers.
The rise of his equal.
Sebastian Joe is the world champion.
And that star's return to the top.
Joshua Rogers comes across the line to take the 2021 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Championship.
But now, fate has chosen new rivals for Sussex's favorite son. There's the young American, Georgia's Zach Campbell, carries the torch for VRS. Then there's Kevin Ellis Jr., the Scottish powerhouse for the Apex Racing team. But all three are chasing a new star, forged from a team returning to the top, Diogo Pinto. This Portuguese driver has been on tempo all season long. With a 37-point lead, he's the odds-on favorite to win it all. 4 drivers, $200,000 on the line. Who will ignite their legacy and take home the trophy? This is the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Championship. And it starts now.
You also have this contact between Weber and Campbell. That chicane, there was a car slide.
Oh my good God!
Oh!
All in all, Sebastian, how did he save that?
From downtown. Well, time is running out here. Monza decides to this is absolutely sensational. Oh, the Campbell! Well, it all comes down to this. 35 of the best sim races on the road side of things here on iRacing all started this championship way back in February, but now here in June it is time for the championship finale here at Monza. Paul Smith and Sadicus here as always, and Matt, 4 drivers still can win this championship.
Yeah, 4 drivers mathematically can still win this championship, but it's going to take a lot of luck for Zach Campbell or Sebastian Joe to not only score points that they need, but have the competitors who have been so consistent, Kevin Ellis Jr. and Diogo Pinto, not score. And that has been a story for them all season. They have been remarkably consistent. Diogo Pinto has a 37-point lead despite a 20-point deduction for a penalty earlier in the season. He's been great at every single round, and almost every single round Kevin Ellis Jr. has been equal except the opening round. So he's actually done very well to close that gap up, and he's given himself a fighting chance today.
He certainly has done. Sebastian, though, you can never count him out, former champion who knows what it takes to win a championship here. And don't forget as well that battle for relegation as well to keep themselves in this one. But joining us here in the commentary booth for qualifying, we saw him briefly in the All-Stars. It is Lauren Heinrich, Porsche Junior driver. And Lauren, welcome along to the Madhouse.
Thank you. Hi.
Great to have you.
It certainly is a tremendous race and a tremendous opportunity for these 4 drivers that are trying to win this championship. What is it that these drivers will have to take into qualifying here especially?
I think the most important thing is just to keep your head cool, because all of them know that so much is on the line in this single day now, in this single evening, so all of them are really quick. It's just about who gets it done the best way. I raced in the first season of the Porsche Esports Super Cup, so I know how hard it is, this field, and it comes down to every thousandth of a second, so they really need to nail their qualifying. I think that's the key to have a successful evening.
Absolutely. Sorry, Paul. I was just going to say absolutely. I mean, but we get into this as well, successful evening, but we're doing it at Monza, and I don't think this is somewhere I should talk around when we've got a driver here among us, Lauren, who's been around this circuit. So what are the keys, especially in the Cup car here?
Well, the braking is the most important thing, especially for qualifying lap, and also now with the updated off tracks, it's quite hard to get a clean lap, actually a valid lap. And then for the race, it's just important to place your car in the right spots at the right time because of the slipstream game. So that will be interesting. It's not only about the qualifying on this track, but also about the race. So I think it's the perfect track for the season finale.
Certainly is. So these drivers here, the pressure is on, but these are all the best drivers in terms of the road side of things. They will be used to this sort of pressure now, Lauren. They've had the whole season of this. They know that they've got one lap to make it count.
Well, for sure. I mean, they are the best of the best. They know what they have to do, but let's see if someone cracks under the pressure. For sure, it's tremendous.
Well, there's our three contenders on screen now. Zach Campbell, Sebastian Job, and Kevin Ellis Jr. We know that they are all capable. Now, Sebastian is a defending champion of this series because that means Paulie's obviously not defending right now. That's Josh Rogers, who didn't race this season with us, and we know now why, just to clarify that. He'll be joining us later, but Porsche has announced their full-on esports team, and conflict of interest reasons, they didn't want the drivers that were involved in that to race in this series, which is very respectable and fair to everyone else involved. But yeah, Seb's been in this position. The other two are a little newer to it, and Kevin Ellis was great last year. Diogo Pinto, this is unexplored territory for him.
It certainly is, and these drivers, let's not forget what they're racing for. It's a $200,000 prize fund for the entire series, $50,000 if you win this championship. It's not short change, is that? So this is what they're all trying to do, and that is the driver that they're all trying to get ahead of in the championship. Diogo Pinto, I mean, we've been calling him Mr. Consistency all season. He's one sprint race win all season. No feature race wins, but he's not needed that.
No, he's had a good number of podiums as well, though. Third places, second places in that mix, as well as the feature, including the last round at Le Mans. He was second place in that trophy, but you're right. It's Sebastian Job, the winningest driver in series history, who also is the winningest driver this season, and it would have been an incredible season for him, is an incredible season for him, if not for just how unbeatable Diogo has been. And you talk about reverse grids and qualifying. Sebastian's had the most amount of poles. Everything's been going his way, except for a bit of drama, and this guy seems to find his way through it. He's just so good in race mode, I guess you could say.
Certainly does a good job. But Kevin Ellis Jr., he does know how to win a championship in the Porsche 992 because he did win the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain against Sebastian Job this year. So he knows what it takes to win a championship here. And okay, not quite to the same scale as what this championship is, but still, having that form and knowing how to compete in the championship is key. I don't know if you agree about that. Having a bit of form in Lauren, with another series, does that come into this series?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, in real life, it's quite similar because also I do the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany in real life and the Porsche Supercup. So I really like this that it also comes to sim racing now. People doing the Esports Supercup and also the official Esports Carrera Cups, and I mean, you can see that the drivers can carry the momentum from the other championship into the last race of the Super Cup, and for sure they might have a small advantage.
I think that's a great point psychologically. Lauren, just while I've got you, and I know we're in qualifying, 7 minutes to go, talk to me a little bit about Monaco, because that was pretty cool for you. Obviously, the opportunity to drive that circuit is exclusive in its own right, but you stood on the podium there in the Carrera Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Monaco is one of the season highlights in the Porsche Supercup calendar. Last year was really difficult for me, so I was really coming there for redemption. I really wanted to make a good race, and finishing on the podium in the end was a dream come true. I wanted a bit more. I was really fast in the race, but it's just so hard to overtake around Monaco. And then in the end, standing on the podium, where also the Formula 1 podium is after, is just a mega feeling and something I could finally tick off my list in my racing career.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, you don't get too many chances to drive around that circuit, so being on the podium, as you say, very exclusive. Switching back to PESC a little bit, you guys had open qualifying in the All-Star race. You're now into a situation that most drivers in iRacing and everyone at home that's subscribed is more familiar with. solo qualifying. What kind of pressures does that change or entail, and which would you prefer in this situation, if you were in one of the 4 contending spots?
That's actually a good question. If I would be in one of these spots, I would prefer to have solo qualifying as it is now, because it's just the same for everyone. No one can get lucky with a tow or with slipstream, because around a track like this at Monza, you're just so much faster if you have slipstream. So this is perfect actually, because it's the same for everyone. But yeah, for sure, an open qualifying session can make things a bit more interesting. But I think for the sake of fairness, it's better like this.
Interesting point. Paul, worth pointing out as well, our banners we're seeing here, the black banner, that's the standard one. White for rookies, green for the contenders, just as it has been all season, but obviously the biggest change is green in the last 4 races that we've added.
Certainly is, and it's been tremendous to see some of these rookies coming through. Oscar Bixrud, youngest driver on the grid here, he has been an absolute sensation, and I don't know about you, Lauren, but it seems to be that everyone in the top level of esports seems to be getting younger and younger now.
Yeah, actually, it's not only in esports like this, also in real racing, people are getting younger and younger, which I think is really good, because then you have even more time to develop yourself. And I mean, we can see maybe he's the youngest, but for sure he's not the slowest. So I think you learn really quick when you're that young, and then you even have more potential because you have so much more time to develop yourself.
To that point, just a question that you can maybe answer from your perspective, Lauren and Paul. I know everyone seems like they're getting younger. We're also getting older, just to note. No question about that. But Lauren, I've kind of had a theory about this, and it's more the internet revolution, that people are able to get media. Back when I karted, you'd kart one race, and if you made mistakes, you had to wait 3 weeks before you were back on a track to fix those. And we didn't have YouTube to look things up and see onboards or sim racing as well. How much do you think that's made a difference for you, is being able to absorb all that media at a younger age? And how much did sim, do you think, was valuable seat time versus sort of just getting your racing addiction out?
Well, I mean, all the opportunities of access we have now just helps, because when you come to a new track, for example, you can search up for onboards on YouTube. You can watch the race of last year from the Porsche Supercup, which I always do before I come to the race weekend. But also sim racing is such a powerful tool for us young drivers who don't have so much experience to learn new tracks. For example, when I came to Monaco, I spent hours and hours in the simulator, because it's just a track where you cannot practice in real life. It's only there for one weekend during the year, so for me it was the perfect tool to prepare myself. For sure, when you go out on the real track in Monaco, you have to be a lot more careful, you have to build up your pace slowly, but you just arrive at the track, you drive out, and you think you've seen that before, so it really looks familiar to you, and it helps a lot also with the confidence.
Well, the drivers are on their hot laps right now, so we're going to start seeing these lap times coming in. David Williams is the first one to set a representative lap time of 1:48.5 right now, but this is where things will start picking up. Where will some of our championship contenders be? Zach Campbell to the head of your standings as we speak right now. Diogo Pinto coming across the line. What does his time do? That puts him to the top of the standings as well. Sebastian Job comes to the line. Does he improve? He does! To the top of the standings for Sebastian Job. He's been the king of qualifying this season. Can it all pay off? Now, Kevin Ellis Jr., he's coming into that final corner at the Parabolica. This has got to count for him right now. Look at the focus on Kevin's face. He knows this is key. Charlie Collins has gone second, by the way, on the grid. But here we go. Kevin Ellis Jr. for the Apex Racing team. What does his qualifying lap do? Only 7th for Kevin out there.
Oof, that's going to be tough for Kevin to swallow, being that far down. Zach Campbell, okay, yeah, he's down in 9th, but he was the furthest back statistically or mathematically to get back into this championship. So this is big. This is also important that you mentioned Collins is 2nd. That pushes Pinto back down the order a little bit. And if Sebastian's going to start doing math in his head, qualifying is 10 points. It's 6th for 3rd. That's a 4-point gain. Now, I know he's 40-some points back at this point in time in the season, but he'll be looking at that. He'll be looking for a way to close this up. And if you've got another driver in the middle, maybe there's a possibility Sebastian can collect.
Well, I just want to bring Lauren in here just before we end our qualifying. But Lauren, what are these drivers going through now? They've finished their qualifying. How are they preparing for this race?
So now all the drivers know where they will start from, so they can start making their plans, you know. After qualifying, I always check which side I'm starting at, and then I just go through all the different scenarios which can happen and make myself a plan before it actually happens, so I know what I have to do. For sure, Sebastian Job is in the best position, but also Pinto is starting right behind his championship contender, so they are in the best position. For the others, nothing is lost yet. The race is really long, especially on a track like this.
Well, Lauren, it's been tremendous to hear your thoughts here in qualifying. Thank you so much for joining us here, and all the best for the rest of your season.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Well, we can see the qualifying has finished, and look at that, Sebastian Job. He is the winner of the Porsche Tag Heuer, the Tag Heuer 2022 Tag Heuer Pole Award winner. Let's get the words right here, and we're going to have a quick word, Matt, very shortly, with your pole sitter and championship contender here, and hopefully we'll get to speak to him momentarily. Yeah, Matt, you're going to be standing by with Sebastian Job.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sebastian has had a remarkable qualifying, but not only that, we can confirm it now, although we already knew this because he's been so dominant in qualifying. He's got a watch on the way, a lovely new accessory to make that wrist look even better while driving around. Sebastian, that must feel pretty good.
Yeah, can't complain. It's nice to top it off with another pole position. So yeah, it's been a pretty good season qualifying wise. Hopefully the races today will follow suit.
Well, it's been a pretty good season race-wise as well. You've had the most number of wins on the grid. You're now, with that, I'll do the math quickly, 44 points behind. You're on the pole, though. Focus on you. Is there a chance? Are you crossing fingers and hoping maybe you can get some luck today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm crossing fingers, toes, anything. But all I can do is just try and get the maximum points, really. I think I did it once in 2020, but to do it this year with this grid will be a bit more tricky, especially with this car where it's a bit more difficult to overtake. So yeah, it's just get the maximum number of points and cross my fingers.
Well, madness at Monza. You're right, you did the double here when you won your championship, but it is going to be tough out there. Best of luck. It's going to be an excellent race, and no matter what happens, I think you've had an excellent season that you can still be proud of.
Thank you.
There we go, Paul. I think that's the case. I mean, he makes a good point. He did double at this circuit in 2020. One of the only drivers to get a double in that season, if I'm not mistaken, the only driver, and that was his championship win. So he's capable of it, but as he says, different car and a different field.
Yeah, certainly. So once again, congratulations to our 2022 Tag Heuer Pole Position Award winner in Sebastian Job. He's been in sensational form in qualifying, and certainly done a tremendous job. But joining us now in the commentary is guest commentary duty for our 2019 and 2021 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup champion and also Porsche Esports driver Joshua Rogers. Welcome to the commentary booth.
Yeah, hey guys, how are you? Pretty exciting quali session already.
It's pretty good. Now, you yourself, you've been on both sides of this championship finale. You've been the driver out front trying to hold on to that championship lead, but you've also been the one chasing as well. What are these four drivers feeling right now? What are they feeling?
Probably nerves, anxiousness, maybe excitement for some. I think, being in this position before, it's one of those scenarios where you really need to kind of take a step back, have a deep breath, think things through. Obviously come into it a bit more from a mathematical standpoint. I think Diogo at the moment is in a really solid position, so not necessarily to take too many risks. Whereas, Kevin and Sebi maybe need to push a little bit harder to try and unrattle him a little bit. But no, it should be an exciting day ahead. I think, they're all going to be feeling a bunch of different emotions. I know I did the same, so but no, it should be exciting.
Well, you've obviously used this series as well as a two-time champion, and still the reigning champion until today. Sorry, we've got to take that away from you. But you've obviously used this to graduate into the Porsche Esports team, as it were. But you've obviously been watching this year. What's been the biggest surprise for you in terms of the new car, and as it, how do you think you would have fared with it out there on track with these guys?
Difficult to say how I would have fared. I mean, I did a few test races with the guys this week, and to be honest. They had me completely. But to be honest, this year I think guys like Kevin and Diogo have actually surprised me. Obviously, end of last year, Diogo was really, really fast, but maybe consistency was something that he struggled with a little bit. This year, though, it's completely turned around. Every race he's kind of been on it and been playing his cards smart and choosing moves very wisely. So no, I think, to be honest, for me, he's probably the one that surprised me most in terms of how he's kind of adapted his driving and worked on maybe some of those things from last year, and it's clearly showing now. So yeah, for sure.
Well, a great position to be in, but we've got positions on the grid now, Paul. We're about 2 minutes from green, so walk us through this one.
Yeah, and what a pole position it is for Sebastian Job, with Charlie Collins sharing the front row. Pinto and Half of row number 2, with Warren and Sanchez row number 3. Row 4 for Kevin Ellis Jr. You won't be happy with that, with Max Benneker. Zach Campbell, another one of your championship contenders, on row 5 for Beaker. Caruso and Bootloop. It's his final week of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup for Bootloop, with Webster, Lombardi, Sarica, Violette, Jamie Fluke and Salvatellans on row number 9. With Graham Carroll then down in row number 10 with Josh Thompson, Oscar Bichtrud and Thomas Tetela, row number 11 with Julian Sonin and Jeff Giassi, and out row number 12. Row 13 for Matti Sipola and Gianni Vecchio. Ayachan Guvan is back, alongside him is Bobby Zelensky, with David Williams, the oldest man on the grid, with Alexander Volters. Final row of the grid is Kamil Grabowski and Sam Kaiser. So the nerves are on edge right now, not just out there on the grid, but also here in the commentary box. You could cut the tension with a knife. It's that on edge, and hopefully we'll get to see some nice, clean action out there on track. But these drivers are getting themselves prepared. Crucial for Job, starting from pole position. We've seen him get good launches throughout this championship. It is the final round of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Round number 10 from Monza. The drivers looking to the starting gantry. The revs will rise. Green flag, away we go, and it is a good launch from Sebastian Job from the front row of the grid. Pinto tries to follow him, but Charlie Collins is right there in front of him. Johan Half, he can get involved in all of this and help out his teammate Kevin Ellis Jr. in towards the Rettifilio for the first time now. Is everybody going to make it through? Nice and clean with 2x2 all the way down through the field. So far so good for everyone out there, but right now it's the best start for Sebastian Job right now to have Charlie Collins and Johan Half between him and Pinto. Meanwhile, Ellis Jr. is in 7th place where he started, whereas Zach Campbell is up a position already.
Up a position indeed. That's lovely for him to at least get closer to Kevin Ellis Jr. But Johan Hart also getting in between Pinto and Job. That creates a bigger gap now. And as Sebastian said, maximum points. That's all he can focus on. But that's a decent haul so far. Remember, qualifying already yielded him 4 better, so he's 44 points back. And that's what we have to keep an eye on, is this mathematic total right now, because Sebastian, comfortable position. Collins is quick, though. We've seen him win a race this year too, Paul, and we know that the draft is huge.
Well, there you see the live points for the championship. It is 527, 490 and 480. So Sebastian Job right now is going to be jumping Kevin Ellis Jr. into 2nd place in that championship as things stand right now. Charlie Collins, though, he could be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Sebastian Job in all of this. Of course, Collins, a race winner for the first time this season at the Red Bull Ring in these sprint races. He knows what it takes to get a race win, as does Dane Warren, who's behind Pinto. The front 5 here at the end of the lap, just getting a little bit of a gap over themselves and Alejandro Sanchez. Here goes Charlie Collins to the inside now, and Matt, this is crucial for Job not to get involved in any silliness.
No, don't. Just give it as much width as you need. It's the first lap. Let Charlie go through. He's obviously carrying that VRS banner as well, and he's one of his teammates further back is in that championship. A lot of smoke further back, so a bit of a lockup somewhere in the line. But Diogo now also having to contend with the fact that Johan Harth is trying to hold that position around the outside, and Sebastian smartly is moving over to give him the tow down toward the corner because he knows that he needs to keep Diogo back as well. Likewise, though, defending Paul, if he continues to give a gap up, he doesn't want Collins to get too far down the road.
Oh, Pinto's having to go defensive though on Dane Warren right now. That's allowing Job to pull away. I mean, Josh, just how difficult is this when you're leading the championship? You've got a whole gaggle of cars right there with you. How difficult is it to defend, but not also get involved in any silliness?
Yeah, it's tricky because, of course, you're trying to focus on your race, score as many points as you can, but at the same time judging the risk versus reward in these scenarios. Obviously now, with that battling and that defense, they've dropped back a little bit as Dane puts a move on there. So, then now they're out of the draft from the top 3, almost kind of puts him in more of a risky scenario because there's all these guys behind him that kind of have nothing to lose that are pushing really hard. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe they can work together with Dane here and try and push forward to catch the front 2 again, but I guess a little bit of bump drafting and whatnot, but it looks like they're putting a move on again, so maybe not.
Well, I mean, he is a little bit of a curveball in this championship contendership, and that's Johan Haaf. He came into this week in 18th place. He's trying to automatically get qualification for next year here, Matt. How crucial is he going to be in all of this?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I know, Josh, you said that nothing to lose, and I understand the sentiment, but you're not wrong. Johan Haaf needs points, so he's going to be on a hard charge as opposed to some of the other guys in this sort of gaggle of cars, and that means, he's going to be aggressive. Okay, great. He's got Diogo Pinto, championship leader. He doesn't want to be the guy that ruins it for him, per se, but he's also not going to be giving him space either. He's going to say, hey, I need the points too, so he's definitely in this, and he's alongside, again, Dane Warren. Good move last lap by. Josh, this is an early point of the race, too, where tire management, surely, 7 laps, new tire model this year, new car. How crucial is it to get that wiggle for Diogo Pinto? How crucial is it to get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess a sprint race, 7 laps, so it's not too long, so time measurement should be okay here. But yeah, I mean, as we can see at the moment, they're kind of having wiggles here and there. One thing to watch out for is for sure lockups, especially when you're defending, you're offline, maybe your brake marker is a little bit different to what you previously had. So watching out for that is going to be a big thing. But to be honest, I think the sprint race, time management won't be too much of an issue. Feature for sure. But yeah, I think the guys are doing quite a good job at the moment, to be honest.
Now, this is a crucial race that we're seeing here, or just in front of these, is Zach Campbell we're looking at in 10th place. But now Kevin Ellis Jr. has got up to Diogo Pinto. If Ellis Jr. wants any hope of trying to get the championship here today, he needs to get ahead of Pinto in all of this, Matt. He needs to move ahead and try and pull away, get up to Johan Haaf, because I know Johan won't move over and let Ellis by, but it certainly won't make it difficult for his teammate to try and win this championship.
Yeah, absolutely the case. To note as well, you've got Max Benica right now in 11th, who's obviously a teammate of Diogo Pinto. But keep in mind, Jordan Caruso is 9th, Campbell's 10th. Reverse grid puts currently, now Campbell's side by side, would put either Jordan or Zach on the pole if they can get by Benica. And the reason that's key is twofold. Obviously, Zach wants to get maximum points in the second race, get that start position. But Jordan Caruso is currently the lead rookie in the race, and he's come into his own so far. Ellis has actually got by Pinto, so I want to see how that one went down. But he wants the points for the rookie, but he's 19th. So just like Johan Haaf, he needs points to qualify. So there's a lot of other little things going on within the intricacies of these respective positions.
This is what makes finals day here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup so fantastic to watch, and we're glad to have you all along here watching this one. It is Charlie Collins who leads this race by half a second over Sebastian Job, with Dane Warren 3rd, then Johan Haaf 4th ahead of these two that we're looking at right now. Kevin Ellis Jr., who came into this week in 2nd place of the championship, and then Diogo Pinto 6th place. Alejandro Sanchez, he could be a little bit of a thorn in the side as well, in 7th ahead of Max Benica, and Zach Campbell 9th, you mentioned it, he's there. But the Caruso, Biko, 2 of your rookies out there, with Cooper Webster as well, who's had a tremendous season this season's Cooper, really come out of left field, done a fantastic job. But if I'm Sebastian Job, I'm wanting Cooper Webster further up the field, if you ask me.
And Graham Carroll, who's in a relegation position. Graham's become the 3rd highest point scoring driver on this team, despite having an excellent start, a podium, first time out in Hockenheim. And Sebastian just doesn't have that support right now from his 2 teammates. Graham's 13th, so at this point, going into the weekend, he was ahead of that point, but Cooper's 6th. And this is 3 rookies battling with Bootslu just behind, who's one of the most experienced racers, and obviously in his final full-time professional race, which is an interesting point. Diogo has conceded another position. Sanchez has gotten through. Diogo might be being too nice. He knows he has the lead in the championship, and therefore the most to lose, but it's almost a case of being too timid, and you wonder, what is that balance? What is that threshold? Josh, I mean, you've been in this position. Is he giving too much away, or is this still okay?
Yeah, it's risky. It's tough to say. I think now, obviously, he has Max behind him too, so that's going to give him that little bit of a buffer. But potentially he's being a little bit too conservative at the moment. He's obviously losing positions here, which is points, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really need that. Still in a great position for the reverse, but it's always risky being in that situation where you're too conservative. It can sometimes even put you into a more risky position. I think at the moment, though, he'll be perfectly fine. But at least in the future, maybe things might have to flip around a little bit.
Josh, is this a little bit of maybe an experience of being involved in the championship fight here, because it's only his second season here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup and his first time fighting for a championship? Is that a little bit of an experience as well come into play?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of different strategies you could approach the race with. Obviously now, given that he has that support buffer behind him with Max in P8, I think this is a great strategy for him at the moment. If there wasn't that buffer, maybe things would be a little bit different. But no, I think at the moment this is probably the best position he can kind of put himself into. There's a gap to the car in front, gap to the car behind, just running his own race, and I think that's what he can do.
Well, Sebastian Job has closed up the gap to Charlie Collins. Sebastian wants and needs a race win. It'll be 25 points for the race win here. If he does get that, that will certainly help him in his championship race. Further back, there was too wide going into the chicane. Boot loop involved in that, as we see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen. But right now, Job, he's got to be starting thinking now here, Matt. He's got to start thinking of moving forward, as does this man, Zach Campbell. He wants at least one place to get himself an inverted grid place.
Job's in a perfect position, though. He's got a gap behind. He's right on the bumper, almost welded to it right now, Charlie Collins. So no need for him to make that move any sooner than I think the last lap if he wants to be careful about it. You're right, though. Zach needs to move forward because he is going to be out of the running into the feature if he can't get more points than this. And unfortunately for him, he's got Benica as a buffer. Josh mentioned it, now behind Diogo Pinto. Just to keep the live points in line, if Sebastian's able to win this race and Diogo finishes 7th, that's an additional 11-point gap. He's already got the 4 from qualifying. That would bring it down to 33 points going into the feature, which is tough, but it's doable with 50 points available for a win.
Yeah, you are asking for a lot of things to go your way there, and as things stand as well, Pinto starting on the front row of the grid for the reverse grid. Don't forget in the main race here. Of course, being at the front of the grid isn't necessarily the best place to be heading into a final race. I'm sure you want to be as far up as possible if you're one of these drivers out there. But right now, Sanchez feeling the need to take a little bit of a defensive run compared to Pinto. So Pinto, it's Spain versus Portugal. And here comes Job then on Charlie Collins in towards turn number 1. Collins, it was great to see him get his first win here in this series. They're giving each other space. A little squeeze from Collins.
That's wrong.
And Job's wide. That's allowed Dane Warren through. Kevin Ellis Jr., he's not quite close enough, but that's costing Job points.
That's backfired. That's backfired. He went early. Collins absolutely didn't give him an inch in that situation. He pushed him as hard as he could. He braked as late as he dare. You see the head shake from Sebastian, and now he's vulnerable because he's lost all that momentum. He'll get it together out of this chicane. No longer a differential in speed. They'll get the same exit. But I'm surprised he went that early. Maybe he was hoping it was going to be given to him a little bit less defense involved. Who's off there? Is that Pinto?
Benica.
It's Benica. It's Benica. Okay, so Benica's gone around. Pinto's going to hold 7th, but that's another huge drama because this would have meant that Campbell was 9th, and he wouldn't have been in that reverse grid position. He now sits on pole, potentially, and front row as well for Pinto. But yeah, Sebastian, I'm surprised he went that early. I thought he would have waited till the last possible chance.
Well, down towards Ascari they go, and we'll see how things pan out here. But right now, Charlie Collins, he is looking good for a second sprint race victory here this season. He's just got a couple of corners to go here. And Charlie, he's had one sprint race win at the Red Bull Ring. He had a feature race win at the Nordschleife, but he's got Dane Warren, who himself has had a few race wins here. Out the parabolic going to go for the final time. It's the two drivers at the front, Collins and Warren. How close are they going to be across the line? It's going to be a dead heat almost across the line. Job finishes third ahead of Ellis Jr. Who is it that takes the win in the end? I believe it's Charlie Collins, but we'll wait for confirmation on that. Diogo Pinto finishes 7th place in that race. Zach Campbell finishing 8th. Unfortunately, that will mean that it is his day done in terms of any mathematic chance of the championship. But we're going to have a look then, Matt, at what happened to Zach Campbell.
I assume this is with Benica. Yeah, absolutely. So he knows he wants to get to that reverse grid position at any chance at all. Side by side into the tighter of the two chicanes. The second one around, and he just shuffled out, clips the wall, and around goes Benica. So just not enough space for both cars there, and that's a tough one. You know Zach's going to be on it. And look, Benica's probably a little annoyed with that, but he's done his job. He still protected his teammate in front. Pinto got out of there. Problem is now he's not up there to help him with the reverse grid. And Josh, how much do you think that was planned, that Pinto maybe was giving those spots away, knowing he had that buffer and still has this reverse grid?
Yeah, it's something to consider, honestly, because obviously now, or then he had the points buffer to use. Now with the reverse grid, he's able to start further up the grid. Also gets him out of potentially a little bit of trouble down at turn 1 with Carnage in the mid-pack. Obviously, he'd be much better off in the position that he's in, starting on the front row than starting position 8. So, yeah, to be honest, for him, best case scenario, I guess similar for Zach as well, now starting towards the front. Unlucky for Sebi there on the end of the last lap, but did well to recover and hold on.
Yeah, certainly did. So it's Charlie Collins. By the way, 51 thousandths of a second between himself and Dane Warren. I mean, those two have been really good. I mean, Josh, just a word about Charlie. We saw him last season in his debut season. Did a tremendous job. He was almost matching you for pace all the way through the season. How good is it now that he's been able to progress and get those race wins under his belt?
It's awesome. Honestly, when you're in the same team as someone like that, it's when you kind of start to get concerned about, okay, am I going to lose my job in 5 years? You know, he's absolutely rapid, and yeah, he's been, well, this year at least especially, he's been able to kind of hone his racecraft and other things a little bit more. I guess at the start of the season things didn't go off too well, but certainly towards the end of this year he's been notoriously consistent and scoring good points. So yes, leaps and bounds from last year. Start was a bit rocky, but to see him progress and kind of take the lead in the position that he's in, yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, let's take a look at how things stand in the championship right now, Matt, because we're down to 3 and it's 39 points covering the 3 of them.
Absolutely, yeah. Zach even getting that 8th position, now being on the pole for our feature. He's out of it. Only 50 points available for a win. He's 82 back. Kevin Ellis Jr. gets jumped by Sebastian. It's 1 point, but 38 points. I just said there's only 50 available. Consider that. That would mean Sebastian needs to win. And if I do the math correctly, you'd have to be, what, 18th or further back to be ineligible. So, I mean, Pinto's got so much room to maneuver on this, and he starts P2 in this race as well. It's a lot to ask.
It certainly is. Now, you know, Josh, you had this in the first ever season of the championship. You had that comfortable gap. How is it going into the second race knowing you've got such a gap?
Just going to jump in quickly before that. I said 18th. I was being a little hyperbolic with doing the math. He has to be 9th. If he's 9th or better, and even if Sebastian wins, he's good. Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, I think in the first season, points were really close between me and Benica. So pressure was on, stress was on. Then I was a bit too conservative. So I think it's probably important, to be honest, for Diogo in this race to try and make hay early on. Try and build a gap or find someone to work with, even if it's Zach, to try and break away from the rest of the guys that might be battling early on in the race, and just try and run his own race, do his own thing. Obviously for Sebi and Kevin, they're going to be pushing hard from their inverts. I think it's probably P6 and P5 now, I think, if I'm correct. So for them, it's going to be a completely different scenario. They'll probably be pushing really hard into turn 1, actually. You know, there's prime position to make up some time. But yeah.
Third time's the charm, just to note. I looked at the sprint points. I've got it now, I promise. I do, okay? He needs 12 points, and that would be 15th or better. So when was that? I'm going through the results. He's never finished lower than 14th all season. So that's a huge ask for him or expectation for Sebastian if he's going to be 15th or lower.
I know we've been concentrating so much on the championship lead, but Johan Haaf has just had a really, really good turn here in this first race, because that's jumped him up into that 15th place by 4 points ahead of Ayachan Guvan. Now, Guvan got involved in an incident on lap 1 down at the chicane, so if he wants to automatically qualify, he needs to come through the field and get some points and beat Johan Haaf. So, is it going to be last day of the season again for Johan to get himself qualified?
I mean, that's a tough position to be in. It's also tough for Ayachan Guvan because he's been so busy with other obligations, being a full factory driver with Porsche. And you'd kind of think that if he was here all season, he would have, potentially been a championship contender the way the season started, but he would be beyond that relegation point. So the fact that he was involved in that early, I'm sure that was his focus today, was only to get points and put himself forward to that spot. He's going to be under some pressure as well. That's some stress for sure.
Well, let's see how things turn out. It certainly has been a tremendous season for us, but Josh, it must be last day of school feeling now for the majority of the grid. They could just go and race.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the big thing too. Like, they can go out, enjoy the race, have some fun. Obviously, within reason. It's important to still be considerate and smart in these scenarios. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be really close for Johan there. It's pretty much the exact same scenario as last year. He's put himself right in the middle of the championship battle while trying to make that top 15 cutoff. So we'll see kind of what he chooses to do in that scenario. Obviously, there's a lot of Apex cars, I think, in the top 8, so that's great for Kevin. But yeah, these guys can go out, have some fun, and push hard.
Well, let's take a look then momentarily at your starting grid for this final round of the championship. It's been a tremendous one. But look at that, Zach Campbell, we just quickly saw a glance of it there. He's no longer got the green banner on his car. That means he's officially out of the championship hunt here. So it'll just be the normal black banner for Zach. But here's the grid then, and he just start himself pole position. Alongside him is championship leader Diogo Pinto, who's got a hand on that trophy. Sanchez and Haaf, row number 2, with row 3 of Ellis Jr. and Sebastian Job. Row 4 for Warren and Collins, with Caruso and Bootloop, with Webster and Sarika, row number 6. Row 7 for Fluke and Lombardi, with Talons, and then the rest of your field going through your screen right now. Max Benneker starting on row 14. He will not like that, and backer of the grid for Ayachan Guvan. Well, we're all set then. This is what we've all been waiting for. The final feature race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup 2022. It's been tremendous to have you all join us here throughout the entire season. But the drivers now get themselves looking towards that starting gantry. The revs will rise. We're all set of 14 laps of Monza. Green flag. Away we go for the final time this season. Terrible start for one of the Apex cars. I believe that was Haaf who was slow away. Sanchez is alongside Pinto, with Zach Campbell trying to give him a draft down towards the Rettifilio for the first time. Through they go, 2x2x2, all the way down the field. Will they sort themselves out? The answer is yes, but look at this, Sebastian Job now. He's trying to get involved with Diogo Pinto. There's Kevin Ellis Jr. right behind as they go through Curva Grande for the first time in this feature race. Heading towards the De La Roggia for the first time. Ellis Jr. less than late breakers, not quite, but Job and Pinto still side by side. There's contact. Campbell's off. Zach Campbell is off. He's out the way. Sanchez leads.
Wow.
Job is in second place right now, with Charlie Collins in third place. Pinto is down to fourth.
Get on the horse, Sebastian Job gets through it already. Pinto gets shuffled so hard, as you mentioned, going into De La Roggia, and more contact in behind. I think that's Ellis Jr. Kevin's out of this one. He's gone all the way back. Pinto managed just barely to sneak by that on the inside, because that could have been both gone. Sebi's not got to close the gap. Sanchez has enough to be broken free of right now. But yeah, Kevin Ellis Jr., that's massive. He's out of this one already, and you can see it on his face. He knows what it means.
He is not happy at all. So he feels that wasn't his fault. There was a little bit of a slide there from Collins, sprint race winner from earlier on, but he's now ahead of Pinto. Pinto, he's in a championship winning position right now. He can sit here quite happily and finish in 4th place. But Jordan Caruso, don't write him out of this one. He wants to try and get himself a podium to finish off the season here as they come across the line. And there's your live points then. 30 points between Pinto and Job. But Zach Campbell, he is out of the championship hunt. He's also down in 10th place after that incident at the De La Rogia there, Matt.
Ellis back up to 20th. He fell as far as 22nd after that unfortunate spin early on at De La Rogia. And we're going to look back at that because we want to see what happened to Campbell as well. But this is, I mean, he's 19th now, so fair play. But that is exactly what Pinto needed to avoid. And imagine it was him in that situation. He would be lower than the 15th. So here's Campbell in the lead, loses it on his own, cold tires, a bit too late in the break, trails into the apex too much, and the rear's gone from him. And this causes a bit of a Constantina. Everyone trying to find space, trying to find a gap in this. And we head into Lesmo 1, and is there a touch with Jordan Caruso? Out on the outside, so far still holding it. Into Lesmo 2, it gets a little tighter though. That dip, the apex, the touch surely, and hip checked out. So just not enough room. And look, oh, even Cooper Webster had to hammer the brakes to avoid contact there.
We have lost, by the way, out this race. Matty Sipler, Alexander Volters, and Max Benneker is out of this race as well. But I mean, Josh, I mean, how difficult was it there for Kevin to try and go around the outside of Jordan Caruso? It just seemed that Caruso hitting that inside curve pushed him into Ellis Jr.
Yeah, tricky scenario, honestly. And I guess that was kind of all started from Zach, unfortunately, but obviously not related at all. But yeah, unlucky for Kevin there. Looked like, I mean, obviously he was fighting with Jordan in Australia as well. Maybe there was a little bit of latency there, which is something that you just have when racing in the internet. It's unfortunate, but still a long way to go. I think obviously with Kevin's damage, it's basically him out of it, unfortunately. But Pinto can just kind of sit here, be nice and calm, and as Sebi's kind of pushing forward, pulling basically the whole train with them. So it should still be a big fight towards the end. Sanchez doesn't have this yet.
Well, we know for a fact that Sebastian Job will not give up without the fight to the end of this race. He will do everything he can in his power to try and catch up to Sanchez and to try and get a win. It cost him in that sprint race, don't forget, a little bit of a squeeze from Charlie Collins in that sprint race, which dropped him down to 3rd place. But Job right now is moving forward in all this, trying to catch up to Sanchez. But Josh, I mean this is a perfect storm for Pinto right now. You've said it right there, as Sanchez actually gets a bit wide through Lesmo too, but Pinto could just sit there quite happily and just get the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be honest, in this scenario, the real situation is going to be in the last 3-4 laps. Once everyone starts to compact together a little bit more, they're fighting, obviously pushing for those top spots. Then that's when Diogo is going to have to be a little bit more conservative or maybe cautious in positioning his car, making sure he doesn't put himself on the outside in any scenario. To be honest, we'll probably see the pack of cars just kind of stay pretty in line, at least until we catch the front. Then we might see things start to happen, but yeah.
It's worth pointing out in this feature race, as Job has definitely got the slipstream of Sanchez in front, but he's got to be careful of Charlie Collins behind. Collins wants to get a double here. Let's not deny that. He wants to get a double victory here and try and copy what Sebastian Job did in 2020. But it's worth pointing out, track conditions out there. The air temperature is 26.5 degrees, but the track temperature 47.2 degrees. That is rather warm. And with this being a heavy braking and heavy acceleration track, you're really going to put a lot of heat through those tyres, aren't you, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Tyre temperature is the biggest thing that the drivers are going to have to be conservative of, or at least watching out for. Tyre wear, not so much of a problem. But you know, you have a slide, you have a couple slides, things they compound, and the temperature kind of stays in the tire for quite a long amount of time. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have a bit of a slide on exit, you need to shut it down immediately, and then for sure wait, a few corners, maybe even half a lap until the tire kind of comes back to you before you can push again. It's something that the guys are also going to be conservatively looking towards when they're trying to set up for a battle too. Maybe in the couple laps prior, just keep it nice and calm, keep the tires cool, and put yourself in a situation where you have the absolute most grip underneath you to be able to make the move stick. Pun not intended.
Well, after that pun, let's take it on over to the king of puns, and that's Sadekis.
Potential move for the lead, but yes, something a little different this week. Bobby Zelensky joining me right now. He's our in-game reporter. Now, Bobby, it didn't exactly start out brilliantly. You're a bit off the back right now, but talk me through your perspective on the track for this one.
Well, yeah, I'm off the track now. I was looking forward to this mid-race interview, but there was a stack up at the second Lesbo, and I just got smushed. So, a lot of these guys are just really pretty much worried about getting off tracks at this point. That's what I was kind of focusing on, but don't got to worry about that now.
Well, Job's gone through to the lead. No question, you've been watching this championship battle. It's enthralling. I'm sure you'd still love to be out in the pack, but what's your thoughts on how this goes down? I mean, Seb's doing everything he can, but it's got to be tough in his position knowing that he needs a lot of outside interference and some luck.
Yeah, he's been great this year. I mean, all these championship guys have been great, but Pinto just hasn't really been wrecked. I think it was just one time in the feature at Spain, Barcelona, and he still finished 14th. So, there's still a lot of time to go. He has to keep it clean. He has to keep his incidents low. He could still lose this. But he's been, had the best finishes, just not been wrecked out, kind of like Seb has, and Kev.
Yeah, and absolutely. That's certainly part of it. And unfortunately, you today, a victim of that, which was, you said out of the Lesmos, it was Kevin that actually got hip checked wide. Caruso and he were fighting for position, and then you got caught up in it. But overall, the season's been, I'm sure, chaotic out there. It's such a fiercely competitive series. It's, you can't have eyes everywhere, and there's so much going on around you. What's your experience been overall this year?
It's been a lot of fun for me. I haven't had the pace that some of my teammates have had for sure, but in the races I felt really good. I just haven't been able to figure out qualifying. And when you're starting mid-pack and a midfield guy like I am, like, you're going to be involved in some wrecks. I think I've been pretty much wrecked in half my races, and then the other half it's been like plus 10, 15 positions from where I started. So it's just really about qualifying. You qualify well, the guys up front, like, they sometimes hit each other, but when you're up in the top 5 or so, like, everyone's pretty safe until the very end. It just makes such a difference with qualifying. It's hard to be in the midfield, really.
We'll see you back next year, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I think I can definitely qualify back for it. Got to go through contender, but I'm gonna go for it.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see you. We hope you succeed in that. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us some perspective. As we're going to toss it back to Paul, because there's quite a bit of perspective at the front, depending on who you're cheering for.
Well, thank you very much to Bobby Zelensky and Josh. I mean, you know him well, as we've seen Sebastian Job to the head of the field. But Bobby, he's an experienced driver in this series, and unfortunate turn of events for him here today out of the race.
Yeah, it's unlucky to see things end for him early. Obviously, Monza, very much a draft track. Would have been cool to see some of the NASCAR tactics come in, maybe a bit of Talladega, a bit of Daytona. But no, yeah, it's been an up and down season for him this year. Awesome to see him back in PESC though, especially considering running NASCAR obviously this year at the same time. The guy's very, very experienced in road racing, and to be honest, hopefully we can see him back next year too.
Certainly hope so, indeed. Of course, he may have to do that the hard way, unfortunately for him. But speaking of doing things the hard way, Sebastian Job at the head of the field right now. He's got a 0.3 of a second lead over Alejandro Sanchez, but that's nothing really here around Monza with the slipstream, with the draft that you've got here. Charlie Collins here as we welcome Sadekis back into the commentary booth as well. I mean, Matt, Charlie Collins, he could be on for a double victory here.
We talked about Sebastian doing that in 2020 when he took the championship, and
Caruso's dropping down the ladder.
This is big. He's gone around. There's still the same issue. He's in the pit lane. So is this a drive-through? Is this a penalty repair? I'm not sure which. We'll have to get an update on why. But you're absolutely right. He has gone to the box. So Oh, bit of a tap as well in the back of Sanchez. Just a little love tap from Charlie. Look, Sebi could have been in that same position as we saw him go for the move on the last lap in the sprint race. But you're right. Charlie has managed to dial into this respective race. And the draft, absolutely. A double for Charlie to end the season would be perfect. Because as he said in the interview talking to Josh earlier on, he's been so good all of last year. And he's been good at times this year. But he hasn't quite got it all together to really get a points run going, and I'd love to see him close this season out in style, because next year he could be someone that is in the championship running. So where did it all go wrong here for Kevin Ellis Jr. again? That's where he gets shuffled out, just no room on the road. He gets tapped, and Johnny Vecchio gives him a little trip to the gravel.
Yeah, he was trying an ambitious move there around the outside of Gianni there. So back to the front of the field. In fact, looking a little bit further afield as well. And well, Oscar Bixrud, he is currently where is Oscar? He's currently 27 out there, so he's a little bit out of position up on screen. But right now, Dino Lombardi, I mean, Lombardi, he is certainly one to keep an eye on here. He's an Italian driving at his home track. In fact, why don't we give you a little bit of the sights and sounds here with our Buzz Sound Lab. As the great Murray Walker once said, we're halfway through the race, which means there's half the race yet to go. And it is Alejandro Sanchez who is in the lead of this race right now. You look at the live points, 27 points between Sebastian Job and Diogo Pinto. Pinto's comfortable right now. He's in 5th place. He did lose a position to Dane Warren on that last lap here, Matt. So he has dropped back a position, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, he's got 10 more positions behind him, and in between him and losing that championship, he's in the perfect position right now. He doesn't have to start to stress. 6 to go as they cross the line. Sebi wants back to the front, and Charlie might push him there as they head down toward the first corner. So continuing to see that draft train swap positions each and every lap. But yeah, no stress for Pinto at this point.
I want to point out, by the way, 1st to 20th covered by 7 seconds. That's how close this battle pack is out there. And Job has got a little bit of a breakaway here now. This is what he needs to make the most of, because we've seen it time and again in this series, especially around somewhere like Monza, Josh. If you're able to break that draft at the front of the field, you just seem to be able to pull away from everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the gap is still a bit too small now. If the guys behind there continue to battle and the gap maybe gets out to about 1.5 seconds, honestly, I think Sebi could break away. At the moment, though, I'd say it's still a little bit too close for them, so they'll probably catch up. Might take a few laps, though. Sebi's doing a great job of breaking the draft, so that does take away a little bit of the effect slightly. Something kind of slightly off topic, though, I've just noticed. Jeremy Boudeloup in P7, his last ever race in PESC. Be nice for him to go out with the top 5, I think.
Oh, yeah, it certainly would. I mean, Jeremy is somebody that I've had the pleasure of commentating on for many a year, and he's not stepping away entirely from sim racing. He is going away from full-time esports competition and settling himself down. It says a lot, Matt, when somebody is retiring from top level esports at the age of 30.
Yeah, well, it's not as uncommon as you think in many of the esports, the reflexes and things, but Kerrigan and the boys over here at the FaZe Clan side of things are proving a lot of people wrong, but you're right. It is a younger retirement age than we're used to seeing in many of the sports. Well, look at the relegation. This is your live points. 11th right now, 91 points away from being in that position is Dane Warren, and obviously running in 4th place in this race. But we look all the way back. Gianni Vecchio in 20th is 67 points down on where he needs to be. And interestingly enough, you've got Graham Carroll, number 21, just barely scraping through, and he's down the order today as well. Could be someone that definitely, if contact, if anything happens, he's 14th on the road. That could be a huge drama for him. It's only a few points would change this, and obviously, interestingly enough as well, Paul, it's the top 15. Jeremy Butulu runs 7th in the championship, as well as 7th on the road, but we know he's not coming back, so there's only 14 automatic requalifiers, so to speak. Or at least spots taken. Obviously, Butulu will get that status, but we know he's not going to occupy that grid spot.
Yeah, we certainly do. And, well, the racing all the way down the field has been intense, and this is the race for 8th place. Jamie Flug didn't have the best of qualifying sessions, was able to move forward in the sprint race here, now finds himself in 8th place. I mean, I've even raced against Jamie in other series. I say raced. I took part in the same on the same track as Jamie. He's a quick driver, but he's known, Josh, as the nice guy of sim racing. Is that maybe he needs a little bit more of an edge perhaps to move forward, or is he still a fierce competitor when you're up against him?
No, for sure Jamie's still a fierce competitor when you're up against him in a one-on-one battle. He's always very fair though, very clean, but he does push you right to the edge. Whether it's he'll always sit right behind you really close or kind of squeeze quite a lot, but at the end of the day, that's great racing, and that's awesome. He pushes you right to the edge without going too far, and that's something that we absolutely love to see.
We do love to see that indeed, and Dino Lombardi trying to make some moves here. Oh, and he's lost out there. That's cost him big, and Biko as well, his teammate, dropping back a little bit on all of that. So Sarika's up to 10th, you've got Webster up to 11th, Carroll up to 12th. That's crucial for Graham to get those points for automatic qualification. But we've got 4 laps to go here, Matt. This front train of cars, it's the front 7 effectively, have made a little bit of a break now on the rest of that pack.
And we saw a couple laps back, we were riding on board with Diogo and the camera angle on him, and maybe a bit of a smirk starting to form, but that also means that the nerves switch to excitement, but they can still get the best of you, right? I mean, Josh, maybe you've experienced this, but he's getting closer, he knows he's there, he's worked all season for this, he's a few laps away, and you start to get those butterflies in your stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to stay focused all the way up until the end. It's very easy to let that kind of excitement start to step in and almost shift your focus in a little bit away. Then sometimes you might make kind of tiny little micro mistakes that can put you off. I see here he's sitting out of the draft, which was smart here, to try and position himself, have a better run down the entirety of the front straight as Sanchez puts on a move for turn 1. I think there's been 2 lead changes in that. So the guys are definitely starting to test the waters a little bit more in terms of car positioning and putting moves on. So I think now it's going to really start to heat up, and this is where it's important, especially for Diogo, to be patient and smart.
Seth might get pushed down a little further here, Paul. Both drivers on the inside of him might mean that he goes to 3rd.
Yeah, well, the business is picking up at the front of the field, and Job, he's been able to hang it out around the outside all race long into the Rettifilio, but Sanchez able to get a nose ahead, and Job having to slot himself back into 2nd place, with Collins 3rd place right now. There has been other things happening as well elsewhere on the track that we will take a look at very shortly once we see how this goes through here. So nice and clean all the way through. Salvatalans, well, Gianni Vecchio is alongside him into Rettifilio. Oh, that's a bit of a hit. Jacob, oh, that's some afters.
Oh, that's tough as well, because now there's a ton of damage picked up on the front of that car as we look back from Sam Teiturtz, and Johnny Vecchio, we just talked about that. He's well outside relegation right now, 67 points at the time that we looked at it, and he's going to be falling down that order again. So another guy that's going to be looking at requalification. The Redline, the Team 24, Porsche 24, excuse me, or Team Redline driver that's at the start of the season, I actually pegged as one of the guys that could be a surprise package and kind of be inside the top 10 of this championship. So not an ideal season for him, and it's not going to end well either at Monza.
Well, Alejandro Sanchez, you can see him right there. He is the race leader right now. He has got a race win to his name this season at Silverstone. So another one in a feature race who knows what it takes to win a race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Of course, one of the championship contenders back in 2020. It's great to see him, after a difficult season last year, be back up there at the front and to be challenging for race wins. Meanwhile, Charlie Collins using the slipstream of Sanchez, but he's getting boxed in by Sebastian Job. That's clever thinking by Job to not move all the way over to the left-hand side of the track. He's got the inside line for the second part of the Rettifilio. Sanchez, though, will get on the power earlier, will get the drive out of the corner into Curva Grande. But how difficult is this now? Matt, for these two! So contact, a little bit of rubbing, and Collins is going to go ahead of Job here.
Yeah, not what Job would have wanted on that. You're right. He was trying to hold that outside, put some wide at Curva Grande. Side draft comes into it. He wants to get in position. But now, Collins is being so aggressive, he might get it back because he's compromised both runs. And into Lesmo 1, Job goes from third to first.
Well, how about that for 200 IQ move right there? A little bit of a contact and all of a sudden get the better run. Look at the concentration on Job's face. He's got to remember, he's having to remind himself to he's trying to breathe and trying to remember to breathe all the way through this. This is really tense here, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome racing. 3 wide maybe, or not 3 wide, but 2 wide in multiple of those corners there. Like I said, this is where things are really going to start to heat up with the guys fighting for these positions. But Pinto's dropped down to P7 here. Still perfectly okay when it comes to points. But this is especially probably the scenario where he's just taking a step back a little bit and being cautious.
Oh,
well,
Charlie.
Oh,
that's aggressive.
Bit of a slide.
Yeah, Charlie, I saw that one coming because the move was obviously going to be Sanchez onto Joe, but Charlie's just chucking it in every time he gets a chance. Every time there's a width, he's not letting anyone get away at the front. Not only Alejandro Sanchez a bit of a tap, but he then has to push Job wide mid-corner. This is a huge 3-wide situation, and nobody to push Job along. This is as good as it gets, or as disastrous as it gets, Paul.
In towards the Rettifilio for the final time. There's a rub and a kiss, and through goes Job ahead of Collins. He's got Sanchez there with him. So it's Collins and Sanchez who are trying to get that race win off of Sebastian Job. Job wants to get a win here. He's almost getting pushed around Curva Grande here. He's got to be careful because Sanchez, he's known for being late on the brakes, but not this time. Collins and Sanchez are side by side. That could help Job here. That really could help Job here because he's pulled out a gap. That's going to give him a tremendous opportunity.
Sanchez got shuffled. There was no car width on the outside. You could see immediately Collins tried to go back to the right, but it was too little too late. So Sanchez gets another position taken away by Warren as a result of that 2x2 out of De La Rogia, and this is still going to get into an effect. Pinto's got to be careful. If someone spins off in front, he needs not to be collected in this incident because he's still in 8th position. He'll be fine with 8th. Remember, 15th is what he needs to win this championship. That's all he needs on the road. And Sebastian, man, you could see it into the first chicane. He knew Charlie was being more aggressive than Alejandro Sanchez, so he gave him a little bump before the second apex, so they weren't overlapped on the exit, and I don't blame him for doing so. He's got to defend his position right now.
As we go into the Parabolica for the final time, it's Sebastian Job in the lead. It's who's going to finish second as it stands right now. Charlie Collins is there. Dane Warren's trying to make some moves, but look to the front. Sebastian Job, he's done everything that he can here in this feature race to take the win here, but coming across the line to take the 2022 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Championship, Diogo Pinto from Portugal.
What a job.
What
awesome
a finish.
drive,
what a race. What a championship here, Matt.
Oh, what a job. I mean, the consistency is crazy. 7 wins on the season for Sebastian Job, and he still can't touch what Diogo's managed to do. He's been so successful, and he's not always the most animated guy, but that is full teeth on display with a smile right now. That is a huge achievement for a sophomore in this championship, and the team's going to get together on track and celebrate this one. Johnny Vecchio carrying some signs around, giving him a congratulatory slap on the butt, because that is deserved at this point. He is absolutely deserving to do these donuts. He is a champion right now in a series that is arguably the most competitive on the sim planet.
And Josh, I mean, you've experienced this. Just how good does that feel when you cross that line?
Honestly, there's nothing like it. Massive congratulations there to Diogo. He controlled the race well. He controlled his championship well. He kept things cool, calm, collected. He made the right decisions at the right time, put the car in the right spot always, and yeah, honestly, massive congrats to him and the Team Redline guys. They did an awesome job, and he thoroughly deserves this. But no, the feeling is like nothing else, especially when it goes down to the wire like that too, in such a close series. So very similar feeling to probably what I had in 2019. So yeah, massive congratulations, well deserved.
No one's giving him a chance to do the donuts right now. He's finally found a clean spot on the track, and along comes Kevin Ellis Jr. and stops him in his tracks. But he's going to have his teammates still escorting him back to pit lane, and rightfully so. The Redline boys, what a season they're having as well, Paul. It's worth stating because they've won a number of the endurance races so far on iRacing. They've been very successful at many different cars and tracks already, and such a history behind them. But this is a huge result, and obviously Diogo's biggest of his career.
It certainly is, and congratulations to Diogo. That is sensational stuff here. Let's take this then to the buzz post-race show of our final round of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup in 2022. And it has been a tremendous season here in this one. And, well, looking at this one, it is Diogo Pinto, 2022 champion. Here it says it on the screen. And I believe, Matt, we've got him here for a little bit of a word.
Absolutely. Portuguese pride right now, nailing it. Diogo Pinto, almost the perfect season. You were just so consistent throughout, and you've done it. You can breathe easy, you can smile, and enjoy this. You are the champion right now of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup.
Yeah, it was a crazy season. I think the goal was to be consistent and not drop many points, and I was able to do that. And this last race was really, really intense. Thankfully, I got a decent quali lap, and then in the races, I was just trying not to get involved in anything and bring it home.
Well, you definitely brought it home. Did you come into this season thinking it was possible? Rookie last year, kind of fought for some decent results, but not really at the front. And then this year, you've been there from the off.
Well, this year there were a couple of changes, a new car, some new tracks, some drivers dropped out as well, so I was able to capitalize on that. And yeah, I won't say I was expecting to win it, but I knew I had the pace to be at the front. And once, after a few races, once I found out I was in a fight, I was fully committed to this, and yeah.
Biggest achievement of your sim racing career so far, I think it's safe to say?
Yeah, for sure, by far.
What's the celebration for tonight then?
Well, I have another race tomorrow, so the celebration is going to be to practice.
All right.
But yeah, I'm really happy for sure.
Awesome. Well, hopefully, Dom and the rest of the Redline guys and Atsi are appreciative of the service you've given them, and maybe they'll send you a nice bottle of champagne so you can get a celebration in sooner or later. You deserve it. That's a heck of a season, and congratulations. That's a massive accomplishment for you.
Yeah, thank you and good work.
Thank you. Yeah, and Sebastian, we got to talk to you as well, because you did everything you could today. Went for it in the sprint race. Didn't quite go to plan, but you only sacrificed 5 points there. You got pole. You got the win. 7 wins on the season. Heck of a season altogether, I think you still have to say.
Yeah, it's hard to be too pleased, to be honest. I just sound a bit depressed. But yeah, today's racing went well. I think I said to myself I have to pretty much get 85 points maximum if I want any chance, and I got pretty close, my best of the season, but didn't quite get the luck I needed, which was always going to be a big task. It's never likely for you to win when you're 48 points down, but I gave it my best go, and yeah, congrats to Diogo as well. He drove a pretty amazing season, to be honest. When I look at his results throughout the year, not a single bad round. He he absolutely nailed it. Very consistent, and yeah, he's a very deserving champion. So congratulations to him.
Come back stronger next year, though. I mean, like you say, it was off kind of to a rocky start for you, but the speed was still there.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how I drove this year, to be honest. Just the first 2 rounds really killed it off. I think after the first 2 rounds, I was P19, and it's very tricky to recover that. So I'm happy with how I drove, but when you're that far down, you have to drive very aggressive, and I think the consequence of that was that I then every now and then got caught up in something that just reset all the work to catch back up. So you have to have a good start in a series like this, and I didn't get it, but hopefully next year goes better. Itching for that second title. So yeah.
Well, we hope to see you there. I mean, you've definitely given everyone notice that you've got the speed. We know you've got the composure. So, hey, look, good season, and congrats on second place. I think that's still worthy of being said, and we'll see you in the next season as well.
Thank you very much.
Paul, I can't wait for next season after that. We've got to look at the total table and really recuperate on what we've just seen and who's where, because there was some great drives from a number of drivers this year.
There certainly was. I mean, there you go. 19 points is the difference between Diogo Pinto and Sebastian Job. Kevin Ellis Jr., I think he'll be disappointed with how this final round has turned out for him. Zach Campbell as well would have hoped for a little bit of a better round this final one. Charlie Collins, he's come on really well. Okay, he's not finished in the top 3 of the championship this season, but certainly he is one to look for the future. Jeremy Bootley, the man who's retiring after this race, 6th place in the end. That must be commended for what a tremendous season he has had here at the end. Jamie Fluke finishing 7th as well, with Cooper Webster, best of the rookies, in 8th place. Max Benneker, Alejandro Sanchez rounding out the top 10. The crucial ones, though, are 11th to 15th. Salva Talon's Dame Warren, Johan Haaf, tremendous performance today, Graham Carroll and Moreno Sarica, they are in for next season. Everybody else further down in the field is going to have to qualify yet again here, Matt.
And worth a shout out to Cooper Webster, who came in as the 3rd driver in that Red Bull team. He's the only rookie that has automatically gained requalification status for next year. The rest will have to go through the Contender Series. And you can see, obviously, Oscar Biskerud not far off that. He got jumped today by Jordan Caruso. Both those guys got better as the season went on. But shout out to Cooper for being the top rookie.
Well, Josh, you came in here and joined us on commentary. I mean, what did you think of that? That was tremendous.
Yeah, Monza, like always, puts on a show. It's one of those circuits that pretty much going into it, you never really know what's going to happen at the other side. Anyone can win. Quali is always crucial, as we saw there. You know, the championship contenders put their good foot forward and had a great qualifying, and that set them up. But yeah, honestly, awesome race. Grateful to be able to be next to you guys in the booth here, and yeah, it's fantastic racing as always at Monza.
And Matt, I mean, this has been a tremendous season here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. It just keeps on getting better and better each year.
It does. I mean, this season was incredible. Seeing this championship go right down to the wire, and even today, yes, Diogo had a lead, but Sebastian gave it his best and his all, and we had everything on notice. I mean, if anything had gone wrong for Diogo, he was right there, and so exciting. It's been an honor to be a part of this 2 seasons now in a row. I hopefully can make it back next year and be asked back, because I've enjoyed working with Porsche again for this series, and it's such a treat to be a part of these races, I really think, and to work with you guys here. And Josh joining us today, but obviously Paul all season. It's been awesome.
Well, Matt, as always, it's been absolutely tremendous to have you here today. From everybody here from behind the scenes at iRacing, worked so hard. From everybody at Porsche involved in the championship as well. We have got a brand new champion in Diogo Pinto from Portugal. From everybody here, thank you so much for joining us, and we get to do it again next year. Goodbye.